What's today's date? The 26th. Oh. Sorry. Oh, okay. Call to order the May 26th Select Board meeting. We are being broadcast via RCTV on Xfinity Channel 9 and FiOS Channel 31, also Zoom and live on RCTV's YouTube channel. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Sorry, everyone. It looks like the room is still muted.
Thank you, Maddie. I can see the little mute on the corner there.
Yeah.
IT in here.
Oh,
There we go.
I got it.
I got it.
Maddie, does it seem okay now?
Yep, you're good now.
All
Okay,
right, and I'll
great.
turn on the closed captions as well in the
Awesome.
room. Okay.
Perfect. We will review our agenda for tonight. 7:05, public comment. 7:15, town manager report. 7:20, community spotlight. 7:25, Pride Month resolution. 7:30, we have a public hearing to discuss and vote on early opening of 273 Salem Street and 110 Main Street. 7:45, public hearing to discuss and vote on new annual all-alcohol restaurant liquor license for Bean and Barrel LLC, DBA Bean and Barrel, located at 45 High Street in Reading. 8 o'clock, a public hearing, discuss and vote on FY27 non-union classification and compensation plan. 8:15, preview FY27 water and sewer rates. 8:45, discuss and vote to appoint select board member to the school committee naming policy committee. 8:55, discuss and vote on public comment practices. 9:05, discuss and vote on police presence at select board meetings. 9:15, discuss and vote on consent agendas. 9:25, liaison reports. 9:35, future agendas. And 9:40, approve prior meeting minutes for May 2nd and May 12th meetings. Do we have any public comment here in the room? I don't see any hands. Maddie, do you have any hands online?
Nobody online.
Thank you. We'll move to yours.
Nobody online.
We will move to town manager report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank our Veterans Agent, Will Valier, for his efforts organizing the Memorial Day remembrances yesterday. Also to our Police Honor Guard and our Fire Department for participating. I want to thank Ray Boyd also and all the volunteers for their work setting out flags and markers. And especially our cemetery staff did an excellent job preparing the grounds, bringing in speaker systems, chairs, and even a tent, one employee's personal tent to keep us dry. Despite the downpours in the early part of the day. I'm grateful for all the residents who came out to honor our fallen heroes. And some of folks came to every location and listened to our speeches 4 times, which really is resilient on their part. And thanks to Karen Rose Gillis for making the trek around as well. We had a good time. And the day ended in beautiful sunshine. So it was really worth it. Following a 5-month role as interim Elder and Human Services Administrator and a posting and interview process, I'm proud to welcome Carrie Valley as the official new Elder and Human Services Administrator. She served as a skilled caseworker who's been at the Pleasant Street Center for 14 years and is supported by the current staff and members of the 60-plus community. She will help lead the community services team as they prepare for the opening of the Reading Center for Active Living and has already contributed tremendously in this new role, which is official beginning today. I want to thank the Finance Committee, the Select Board, and the School Committee, as well as Superintendent Dr. Milichevsky for a robust discussion at the Financial Forum last week regarding the FY28 budget. We are continuing to meet with department heads this week and the week after next to discuss budget needs going into FY28, which is about 6 months ahead of schedule, so that we may identify the best numbers to bring forward to the Select Board to consider for potential override vote in the fall. We are holding Wednesday, June 24th, open for a community conversation about budgets, overrides, and collect feedback from our residents, and we've secured space at the library for that. event. So more to come on that, and we'll put that information online. I will be at the MMMA conference this week, Wednesday through Friday. That's the Massachusetts Municipal Managers Association. I'll be on the Cape. I will have my computer with me, and I will be available via email. So as time allows, and I look forward to gathering with our colleagues and learning more about how the others are managing their deleterious budget conditions. And then next week I'll be on vacation, for folks to know, and I will be appointing Police Chief David Clark as acting town manager during my temporary absence. We have several upcoming events in June that went through our departmental review process last week. First, the annual Pride Parade is back on the Common on June 6th. This will be a family-friendly event with DJ, guest speakers, and of course, a car parade. Juneteenth is scheduled for June 20th from 1 to 5 p.m. on the Common with a pop-up marketplace, food truck, butter and biscuit, which I'm told is fantastic. As well as some ice cream. And the community discussion will be taking place at the Old South Church, which is really kind of the big highlight for that event. There will be African drumming and dance ensemble, along with live music and a DJ. And then finally, Porch Fest is on Saturday, June 27th from noon to 6 p.m. We have 46 locations selected as of last Thursday. Oh, I thought I heard somebody. They think there might be over 50 by the time they're done. And with over 100 bands. And so for more information, go to readingporchfest.com. We thank all the organizers of this community events for working well with town staff on logistics and public safety. And we're looking forward to these events.
Great. I was going to add one thing. I saw the Pride Parade this year is adding a dog parade.
A dog parade.
It's the afternoon. I think it's just on the
Common, just on the Common. Yeah. People can dress up. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, so just
I think it'll be fun. I might bring my dog. So I don't know. Yeah. He likes to wear a little Patriots jersey. It's a little early, but I'm hopeful. Community spotlight. The fire chief, Rick Nelson, completed his 1-year anniversary as chief on May 5th, and Assistant Fire Chief John Keogh completed his 1-year anniversary last week on May 19th. So that is great news for them. They're doing a fantastic job in their roles. You may know the Birch Meadow Playground opened on Friday to great success. The Community Services Facebook page posted absolutely fantastic pictures of sunset with the kids down there and the families having a great time. We've received tremendously positive feedback from the community and abutters with accolades for the construction team, the town staff, and the police department throughout the process. So I think it's a jewel of a park, and I hope everyone takes a stroll over there to see the creativity at work. Many thanks to Jim Sullivan, Ryan Percival, Activitas, and Quirk Construction for making this space just fantastic. And to the abutters for tolerating all the work that's gone on there for quite some time. And then finally, congratulations to Presence and Company and Hannah Corbett for approaching their 1-year anniversary that's coming up next month. It's a great space offering classes, meditation, as a well-being focused social club. And you can find out more at presenceandco.net. Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie?
Yes, in the next town manager report, could we get an update on the plans for filling the assistant town manager position?
I'm going to give you a little bit more information on that tonight.
Okay, under which agenda item?
That's under the reclassification.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Anything else from board members? Okay, we'll move on to 725 Pride Month resolution. Do we have the resolution?
I have a...
Oh, you have it. Okay, sorry.
Reading Select Board, a resolution for Pride Month. Whereas the Reading Select Board believes in the inherent dignity of everyone who helps form our community. Whereas Pride Month commemorates the Stonewall Uprising of June 1969 and elevates the pursuit of equal justice and opportunity for LGBTQ+ Americans. And whereas the Reading Select Board values diversity, equity, and inclusion and is committed to equal rights and opportunities for Reading's LGBTQ+ residents, and is dedicated to fostering the acceptance of all members of the Reading community. And whereas the Reading Select Board recognizes the important contributions of its LGBTQ+ residents to the town's history, culture, economy, and civic life. And whereas it is imperative that residents of all sexual orientations and gender identities and expressions feel valued, safe, empowered, and supported by their peers, educators, and community leaders. And whereas we affirm our support for LGBTQ plus residents and stand with them to protect their civil rights and ability to live openly without fear. Now therefore, be it resolved that we, the Reading Select Board, do hereby resolve that June 2026 be recognized as Pride Month in the town of Reading and urge members of the Reading community to recognize the contributions made by members of the LGBTQ plus community and the importance of this month.
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I'm sure we do. Let's see. Okay, move that June 2026 be recognized as Pride Month in the town of Reading.
Second. Seconded by Karen Rose Gillis. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you, everyone. We'll have the resolution to sign. 7:30, public hearing to discuss and vote on early opening of 273 Salem Street and 110 Main Street. Okay, we need a notice. Oh, there it is.
To the inhabitants of the town of Reading, please take notice that the Select Board of the town of Reading will hold a public hearing on May 26th at 2026 at 7 p.m. in the Select Board Meeting Room, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Massachusetts, and remotely via Zoom to act on a request for early opening at 5 a.m. for Dunkin' Donuts at 273 Salem Street and 110 Main Street. A copy of the proposed documents regarding this topic will be in the Select Board packet on the website at www.readingmass.gov. All interested parties are invited to attend the hearing or may submit their comments in writing or by email prior to 6 p.m. on May 26, 2026 to townmanager@readingma.gov by order of Jane Wellman, Town Manager.
All those and, oh, do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Karen Rose Gillis. All those in favor? 5-0 to open the public hearing. And do we have anyone here representing Dunkin' Donuts?
We do.
Do we stand? Do we go
Yeah,
there?
if you could come up to the podium and just state your name, that would be fantastic.
Hang on, we got that?
Oh, we'll come as a team. Let's do it.
That's fine. Thank you.
I mean, I'm wearing the colors.
Good evening, board. My name is.
I'm sorry, can you just make sure that the green light, yes.
It's on.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Good evening, board. My name is Vipin Kera. I'm the regional manager for Dunkin' Donuts. Alongside me is Lena Strowski. She's the district manager she handles all the stores in Reading. And then we have Jim from our office that deals with real estate.
Okay.
So as noted in the proposal, we have 3 locations in Reading. One on 85 Walker's Brook Drive that already opens at 4:30. And then we have 273 Salem Street next to the gym that opens at 6 a.m. And then 110 Main Street that opens at 6 a.m. And we're asking for approval to open at 5 a.m. We've done some research in town. The gym that opened up a few years back, that gym opens at 5:30. And we constantly have customers coming to us to see if we are open. And invariably, since we're not open, they end up going to the stores in Reading or the stores in Wakefield, or they have to go all the way up to Walker's Brook Drive. The deliveries won't be affected, would stay the same, everything would stay the same. We wanted to see if we could go ahead and open at 5 a.m. moving forward.
Okay. Do we have any feedback from anyone else on the board or the public? Any other public input? Maddie, do we have anyone on? Oh,
I have a petition.
no. Okay, if you would like to come up to the podium and just, if you could state your name and address, that'd be helpful.
Good evening. My name is Don Boudreau. I live at 261.
Sorry, you do have a 2-minute timer. 2 minutes to speak. Thank you.
261 Salem Street, Reading. I went around to the neighborhood and had a petition signed saying not to open at 5 a.m. I'd like to give it to the board, if I may.
Which location?
Which location, sir, are you talking about?
Salem Street.
Too many here.
How do you know that?
Here we go.
Oh, he said Salem Street? Oh, I'm sorry.
The majority of people I spoke to are not against a company making money and providing services for Reading. But we, as abutters, feel that it's unnecessary at 5 o'clock in the morning. I have a couple of quick questions, and the first one is, shouldn't this have been sent out by a certified letter to everybody, the abutters?
No.
Not legally required.
Okay. Hours of delivery. There are trucks that are there sometimes even before 5 o'clock in the morning, and they're banging their carts that I guess they bring in donuts, I guess it is, all right?
Sir, if you could
They're-
just have your questions come to the board, that would be great. If you could just address your questions to
Okay.
the board, that would be
Okay.
fantastic.
Is there anything in the town that stops early deliveries?
Yes, we'll clarify.
That's right. Yeah, the deliveries, the normal retail hours are 6 a.m. to midnight.
Okay.
So retail deliveries should
Till
be
midnight.
within that window.
Okay.
Anything outside of that would need permission, I believe, from this body.
Okay. How about dumpster pickups? I mean, it's not necessarily Dunkin' Donuts dumpsters, but other dumpsters in the area. Is there a certain time that they're not supposed to be picked up in the morning?
Do you know offhand? 6:30. Dumpster pickups should not be before 6:30, but I think your comment should be relative to this board, to this party tonight.
Okay. All right, I guess that's it. Thank you for allowing me to talk.
Thank you. We appreciate the feedback. Do we have anyone else in the room? Maddie, do we have anyone online?
No one online.
Does the board have any feedback before we close the public hearing? Okay, oh, Chris, sorry.
Thanks, Melissa. I guess I would like to hear from either one of you regarding the delivery thing, because not specific to Dunkin' Donuts, trash, other things that have been brought up. I've heard in the past, not just by you, but other apartment complexes having their dumpsters emptied at 4:30 and things like that. So I'm very cognizant about the early morning delivery time. So do you have any feedback on why allegedly this kind of stuff is happening at your development?
Well, thank you for bringing up the question. As far as deliveries are concerned for dumpsters, I'm pretty sure they do it during the day after 11 a.m., so that is not a concern. We have a Dunkin's here that we get delivery at 9 p.m. I'm pretty sure it's the same truck that delivers to 273, but I can check it, and that's an easy fix. If the deliveries are allowed to be made till midnight, we can make that happen. Mostly 7, 8, 9 p.m. is when the deliveries get done. The drivers, they have keys. Even though the store's closed, they have keys. They bring the product in, leave the product for the morning crew. So that should be an easy fix. As far as people coming in on 273 Salem Street where the gentleman resides, there's a gym that brings in tons and tons of, customers that go to the gym. And, being Dunkin' Donuts, our customer is a customer that comes at 4:30, 5:30, 6:30. By 9:30, 10 o'clock, our business is mostly done. 80% of the business is done at 4:30 in the morning. We don't take care of them. Somebody else is taking care of them. They're either going down the street to North Reading by Coda's Funeral Home. There's a Dunkin's there. They're either going there, or they're going to West Street, or they're going to Starbucks, which opens at 4:30. There's 2 Starbucks in town in Reading. They open at 4:30 and 5 a.m. So they are going somewhere. People are in their cars. They're getting in, getting out. There's no drive-through at 273, so I would assume there would be not so much noise if people are coming in. And during that time, I expect maybe 20 to 30 customers come in. I don't expect a huge volume of customers. Our main business really starts at 6, but there are customers, whether they be police officers or nurses, doctors going into Boston, and they work different hours. People working in the airport, they don't work a 7 to 5, 8 to 5, 9 to 5. And those are our customers, and they are getting coffee somewhere. And the question that we always get is, hey, I wish you guys were open so I wouldn't have to go to Wakefield. I wish you guys were open so I didn't go to North Reading. I wish you guys were open so I don't go to another store. But I can make sure that the delivery is happening between the hours that it's allowed, which is 6 a.m. to 12 midnight.
Thanks. Yeah, I know you mentioned that maybe the dumpster is getting emptied at 11, but I'm not saying people are making things up, but something is happening at 4:30. And if nobody is there, you can, what time do your employees get there regardless? I know they might get there early and then
By 5 a.m.
5 o'clock. So there shouldn't be anything prior to 5.
No,
ever?
For employees, like employees coming in or
Or
deliveries?
deliveries
No,
or anything? So nothing is happening after midnight and before 5 a.m.?
We get 2 major deliveries during the week, which brings in our coffee, the cream, the plastic products. That's 2 times a week, Wednesdays and Saturdays, and that's after 11 a.m. And then we get delivery for donuts on a daily basis, and that's between 9 and 10 p.m. But I can make sure and double check and make sure that that is happening. There shouldn't be nobody coming at 4:30 in the morning for any reason.
Yeah, the way that I see this, there's twofold. The other one, we didn't receive any pushback on the times getting changed to. And I'm all for businesses making money. I'm a small business owner. I understand I'm very pro-business, but I'm also pro not being annoyed at 4:30 in the morning when stuff's supposed to start at 5.
Of course.
So I guess for me, I'm willing to vote one way on one thing and then just push this off to the next meeting so we can find out really what's happening during the early morning hours, either from the residents or said you'll follow up and check back. And if you have, you find out someone's delivering 12:30 or something that you weren't aware of, then, we make a
correct it.
correction and then everyone's happy.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of where I'm at.
Sal?
So you were saying one of the locations had a drive-through, right?
I'm sorry?
One of the locations has a drive-through?
Yes, 110 Main Street, the Shell gas station down the street, yes.
Okay. So the drive-through will be open at 5?
Yes.
All right. I just want to talk to the board because we didn't let Bagel World open at 5, so I don't know if it's just to keep it consistent.
Agreed.
Madam Chair, I apologize. Bagel World can open, but they cannot have their drive-through open, the lobby. Yeah, they go in at the lobby, so that might, the board, because the speaker noises in the morning can
Just to keep
be,
it consistent. We don't want to give one firm an advantage, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. It was both
in McDonald's.
Bagel World and McDonald's. We allowed them to open earlier, but their drive-through couldn't open till 6 a.m.
Is it because where it is, the zone, or?
Just being close to homes.
Yeah.
Okay.
That speaker and that.
Gotcha.
So just to keep it consistent for what this board has done in the past, that would be my support, is to not
Would
open
you
the
let us open
drive-through.
the lobby? We could
Yeah,
open the
inside.
lobby though at 5?
Inside at
Yeah, that would
Just
be
no
my
drive-through.
vote.
Okay.
Yeah. Does anyone have anything
That's
else?
acceptable.
Karen?
I agree with Chris. I don't know if we can split it up, but I was all for it, thinking, great, I know people go to Planet Fitness, but the noise issue, I think we really want to make sure that that's not an issue, because that's important. So that's all I had to say.
Yep, absolutely. Any other? Karen?
Yeah, so the Salem Street,
Yes.
there's also REI there, so, it could be anybody. There's multiple businesses there, so yeah.
And all the dumpsters are in the
They're all
back, all
together in the
3.
back. Right, so, I don't want to penalize one business, it could be any of them, but the owner of the, property is reachable if you wanted to reach out to her. As far as I know, she's still reachable. I know not everyone's open that early. But since only one business is before us tonight, and I agree with the rest of my colleagues that I'd like to be consistent with what we've allowed for time starts for drive-throughs and lobby. And for now, see how it goes. It could change in the future.
Does anyone else have any public comment? Maddie, any public comment online?
Nobody online.
Okay, do we want to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing regarding the early opening request for 273 Salem Street and 110 Main Street.
Seconded by Sal. All those in favor? 5-0. I think what I heard from everyone, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we all agree to 110 Main Street opening their lobby at 5 a.m., but the drive-through cannot open till 6 a.m. And then we will put 273 Salem Street on our next agenda, just to double check that there's no early deliveries. Am I correct?
And to Karen's point, maybe it is somebody else's dumpster scenario, because like I said, I've heard of these trash collection things come at ridiculous hours in the morning. And if it is true that it's somebody else and you shouldn't bear the brunt of that, but, you know, we just got to find out before we make a decision.
Okay.
So what does that look like? What would you come back with? What kind of?
So maybe we can do a little bit of a deep dive, and we got some emails from a couple residents, so I would be more than happy to follow up with them and see the one resident that complained about the, what she said was a delivery. I'd be curious if, was it a delivery, was it a trash pickup? So maybe we just follow up on that.
We can follow up on that.
Yeah.
And just to let the board know, our Economic Development Director reached out to the police department today to see if there was a record of noise complaints. For the 273 Main Street location, there is one complaint of young people making noise outside at 8 p.m. Some years ago. Yeah, and that's the only complaint that's been received about that location. So there have been no noise complaints regarding dumpsters or anything else.
Karen?
Yeah, so Miss Archdeacon, who's at 261 Salem Street, reached out to us as well and mentions that she was opposed to the 5 a.m. opening and would like to know about the policy for deliveries. So what I'm hearing is consistency in the level of noise at 5 a.m. So I would think that if trash is being picked up when it's supposed to be picked up and it's just cars coming in and walking in your lobby, it shouldn't be as noisy as a drive-through or anything
Sure, I can
else.
call the trash company. They have GPSs on their trucks now, cameras, everything. I'm pretty sure they have a record of when they pick up the trash. My trash, I don't know
Yeah,
about REI,
okay.
and
You have different
so I can get
suppliers,
that the last 1 month. They can exact times when they picked up the trash on exact days.
Great,
So
that'd be,
we can
yeah.
forward that to Jane or
Yeah,
our
Lynn.
Economic Development Director.
We'll reach out.
And if you want, we can reach out to the landlord and get that, and have the landlord reach out to REI and Planet Fitness and get their records for their trash pickup, exact dates and times.
Fantastic. That would be really helpful. We would appreciate that, yeah.
Yep, you can work with my office. We're happy to get, I think Lynn has our email.
Yep.
And we can coordinate that and bring that back to the board at your next meeting, which I think is, what, June 12th? June something.
May I speak, please?
We closed our public hearing already.
Bring it up later.
If you want to get back up, I'll give you a minute or two to give some feedback, just so we can understand and, work on this for next
Thank you
meeting.
very much.
You're welcome.
In reference to the trash, there's
Can you
a
just,
very-
I'm sorry, just state your name and address again? It's
Yes,
for
Don Boudreau, 261 Salem Street, Reading.
Thank you.
In reference to the trash pickup, there is a very large gate that can be closed to stop trucks from going into the background to pick up dumpsters. It's also good to keep kids out of there on the weekend.
Okay.
You don't own the building, right?
No.
Okay.
So that's probably the owner's responsibility.
It's something I'll try to pursue. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you coming in. So if we want to move forward with a motion to support the change for 110 Main Street, and then we can put 273 Salem Street on our next agenda.
I'm just looking at this motion.
I know, sorry.
License for approval to open for business not earlier than 5 a.m. and won't cause unreasonable disruption. It doesn't mention a drive-through specifically.
So if we could add that wording in somehow, Karen, if you
Well,
could.
the Salem Street doesn't have a drive-through.
But we're only voting on Main Street.
So we're voting on Main
Oh, right.
Street.
I'm
So did we want to include specificity? Yeah.
Yeah, I think we'd want to include that it's
I
5
think
for the
that's what
lobby.
we
For the
did for
business
Bagel
lobby
World.
only, not earlier than 5 a.m.? The approval to open the business lobby only?
Yeah, we covered it.
All right.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Move to approve a license to operate a retail business between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. pursuant to Section 7.7 of the Reading General Bylaws and further pursuant to Section 3.8 of the Select Board Policies to Dunkin' Donuts at 110 Main Street, Reading. This license is for approval to open for the business for the lobby service only, not earlier than 5 a.m. In granting this license, the board finds, in accordance with section 7.7.4.1 of the general bylaws, that the operation of the establishment will not cause unreasonable disruption or disturbance to or otherwise adversely affect the customary character of any adjacent or nearby residential neighborhood, and in accordance with section 7.7.4.2 of the general bylaws, that the operation of the establishment is reasonably necessary to serve the public health, safety, and welfare, serves a public need, and provides a public convenience which outweighs any increase in the impacts on the adjacent or nearby residential.
Second.
Seconded by Chris. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
Jane, if I could interrupt really quick, and I don't know if I'm correct in saying this, but I think we might have to ask for a continuance on the public hearing for 273 Salem Street so that we don't have to re-advertise
idea. I like that idea.
for next time.
Okay, fair enough.
Way to go, Maddie.
Yes, thank you, Maddie. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so moved.
Perfect.
There you go.
Have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Chris Haley. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0 to continue the discussion on 273 Salem Street. Thank you, Maddie.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
night.
you.
We are moving on. 7:45, public hearing, discuss and vote on new annual all alcohol restaurant liquor license for Bean and Barrel LLC, DBA Bean and Barrel, located at 45 High Street, Reading, Mass. Do we have a motion to open the public hearing?
I need to recuse because my business overlooks this development, and therefore I can't vote.
Thank you, Chris.
Okay, to the inhabitants of the town of Reading, please take notice that the select board of the town of Reading will hold a public hearing on Tuesday, May 26, 2026 at 7 PM in the select board meeting room at Town Hall, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass. Are also available remotely on Zoom to act on a new license application for an annual all alcohol restaurant license located at 45 High Street, Reading, Mass. For Bean and Barrel LLC, DBA Bean and Barrel. A copy of the proposed documents regarding this topic will be in the select board packet on the website at www.readingma.gov. All interested parties are invited to attend the hearing in person or remotely via Zoom, or may submit their comments in writing or by email prior to 6 PM on May 26, 2026 to townmanager@readingma.gov by order of Jane Wellman, town manager.
Do we have a second? Seconded by Sal. All those in favor?
Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So Attorney Josh Latham here tonight on behalf of Bean and Barrel LLC. With me is Giuseppe Federa. He's one of the principals of the company as well. What we see tonight is an all-alcohol on-premises restaurant liquor license to operate a new European-style cafe at 45 High Street. We also seek approval to pledge the license to Middlesex Federal Savings. They are providing a line of credit to help finance some of the fit-up of the premises and the startup of the operations. You may know this site well. It is the Flatiron Building across from the Reading Depot, a high-visibility location and a very important part of the downtown area. With Giuseppe here tonight, this is actually a business with his wife, Stephanie. She's home with the kids. She couldn't be here this evening, but it is a family business that they're starting. The application package is extensive, as I'm sure you've seen, but what I will just hit is some of the highlights, maybe a 10-minute presentation, but happy to answer any questions that you might have. So as an initial matter, I will state we have completed legal notice, which is extensive for this type of an application. So that included registered mail to all direct abutters. That included certified mail to all abutters within 500 feet and registered mail to all churches, hospitals, and schools within 500 feet. We submitted an affidavit today confirming that we did complete that service, as well as publication in the local paper as required by the statute. So with regards to ownership, as mentioned, it's Giuseppe and Stephanie who are going to be the owners of this business. This is a passion project for them. They don't have extensive experience within the restaurant business, but what I can say is they have a strong commitment to community. This is something they feel very passionately about. And I will say that Stephanie comes from a long legacy. Her family owns the Parziale's Bakery in the North End since 1907. They've been operating there. There's a really nice synergy in that what we're going to be providing at this location is daily deliveries in the morning of fresh baked goods from the bakery in the North End to be provided here in Reading as part of the cafe. It's a really interesting business concept because it takes advantage of the idea of doing both the cafe through the morning with the commuters, with the locals that are running errands in town, an opportunity to really get together, get these great fresh baked goods, authentic baked goods from the North End. And it transitions over the course of the afternoon to the evening to become a place to meet friends after work, to just go down and have maybe a dessert with a cordial, something like that. This isn't meant to be a bar room. This is meant to be truly, if you've been to Europe, the idea of those street cafes where you pop in, it's relaxed, it's not rushed. It's about quality, it's not about quantity and volume. So it has, as to the location itself, it has ample on-site parking. I'm sure you've seen it, but there's over 27 on-site spaces. There's also over 12 spaces on the street, which are meant to be temporary, not part of the commuter rail. So there's really a great location to have this kind of business. The space itself is 952 square feet. It's not a massive location. It's meant to be kind of more cozy, something more inviting. And what we have is a series of tables and booths. You've seen the floor plans. They're part of the package. There is bar seating as well. And there's a counter so that if folks are coming in to buy some of the fresh baked breads, some of the desserts, the pastries, they can simply go to that counter, they can place their order, and then walk away with it. But then you can also come in and have a coffee while you're waiting for that to be put together. Or you can come in and have a glass of wine with somebody. So it's really meant to kind of cover a lot of these types of bases, to be a real social location. Giuseppe is the proposed manager for this site. He's going to conform with every single requirement under the town policies and the statute. We've submitted his quarry form, the citizenship requirement. He is dedicated to at least 40 hours per week at this location. He has already completed his ServSafe training. And although he does not have significant experience within food service, he does have significant operational experience running small businesses and leadership. So this is something that he's coming into with a great deal of energy. So the concept itself, it's meant to be welcoming, casual, a warm atmosphere. They're really excited to bring the best of the North End to Reading. And I think that's the way we need to consider what this is proposed today. It's something we haven't had in town since the bakery went out of business on Main Street a few years ago. So this is going to provide a really nice diversity to what the dining options are in town. So great coffee drinks, delicious breads and pastries, and unique wines, aperitifs, and cocktails. I think it's a pretty good combination. Regarding the question of financing, we did submit the necessary paperwork. I think what you'll saw is there was a bank statement that showed sufficient liquid funds available to cover the cost of the proposed budget. But really, as additional security, they did secure a line of credit with Middlesex Federal Savings. That line of credit is already in place. It does require your approval to pledge the license, which was a requirement or a condition of that loan. So that's the second aspect of this application today. When it comes to safety and security, this is a primary focus of what they're intending to do here. They are very mindful of the responsibility that comes with serving alcohol. It would be against their values and their business to do anything that would be allowing disorderly conduct, intoxication on site. It's not meant to be that type of environment. We included within their application the alcohol beverage service policy, which fully conforms with the town's requirements and goes above and beyond. As noted, within that policy, all servers will be TIPS or ServSafe certified. All of them are required to sign the policies within 30 days of employment. That's part of their ongoing training requirements. All interior public areas will have video surveillance coverage. In addition, the landlord is proposing to put some exterior video coverage over key pieces around the building, just to ensure we have kind of that additional level of security. And lastly, there will be a new alarm system installed as part of the fit-up. So I'd like to also turn to some of the economic benefits. This is the downtown. And this type of a use, small business, a local family, Giuseppe's from Reading, has grown up and lived in Reading his whole life. He's very committed to this community. This conforms fully with the town's master plan. It conforms fully with the town's downtown smart growth district. The idea of having these walkable locations that will draw people in to create a more vibrant downtown. This is exactly what we're looking for here. It will create a great new diversity of dining options for the town. Local employment, we're anticipating between 12 to 16 jobs being created. It'll be great for some of the high school kids in town. It'll be great for somebody that wants to work part-time. So a really nice opportunity there. It'll be great for the town's tax base. It's improving what was a location that has been vacant for some time, and we're putting something vibrant and new in there. We expect a good draw. And lastly, the Federa is going to be very community focused. They are already engaged in town, and this will be another way that they're building their roots even further. So with that, I'll close and answer any questions you might have. But again, what we're respectfully requesting this evening is approval of the all-alcohol on-premises restaurant license at 45 High Street pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 138, Section 12. Pledge of that license to Middlesex Federal Savings. And lastly, to point out that because there are churches, as defined in the statute, within 500 feet, we do require a specific determination by the board that this license would not be, quote, detrimental to the educational and spiritual activities of churches or schools within 500 feet of the premises. And with that, I would close and be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions, comments, feedback? Karen?
So as far as the menu, what exactly is the menu? Am I going to have treats all day long, or is there going to be, something more savory? Do you know what I mean?
It's not meant to be a place you would go and have dinner, per se.
Okay.
It's more like the cafe where you go in and there's going to be croissants.
Okay.
There'll be other cannolis, pastries, fresh baked breads. If you're going to be sitting there, you'll probably be getting a pastry type item, to be honest.
Okay,
There'll
so
be
that's an
focaccias.
all-day service?
All
type
day,
thing?
so there will always, so there'll always be food served at any time that alcohol is served, but food will be served during all opening hours.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
I might have missed it in the day, but what are the hours?
So we don't have this fixed hours right now. I think we would just say that we would be open for all retail hours for bakery and coffee.
Okay.
But then when it comes to liquor service, just within the confines of the requirements of the policy, which I think is, I want to say 11 a.m. until, I'm not sure if it's midnight or 11 p.m. and then at different hours on the weekend.
I'm just wondering when I can go.
Karen?
So we allowed folks to open for brunch at 10 a.m. on Sundays. Is that a separate petition for a business?
We have to vote that in as a board yet, which we haven't done yet.
Yeah, it's going to be at the next meeting.
We have a process.
Okay, so 11 a.m. is what it is on Sundays.
Well, I think we'd love to be able to do the brunch part of it too, that timing, but yeah.
Okay.
Not yet.
And then,
Almost.
Not yet.
So yeah, we take the alcohol very seriously. But if somebody underage gets served at your restaurant, you're gonna be here, and we're not gonna be happy. I know you know that. What I'm wondering is that, is Mr. Federa and his partner both gonna be alcohol certified? Because what if you have a cold? I'm not seeing on what you presented.
Yes.
Where the backup
Yeah.
is.
I'm sorry. So just because Giuseppe is the manager, the proposed manager, I made a point of saying, make sure you get certified before we show up tonight.
Okay.
Stephanie's going to be actively involved in the business as well. So she will certainly be certified, take the course and get that necessary certification.
And so I don't know the rules probably as well as you do. I know I don't. But someone always has to be on site, certified to the highest level.
Absolutely.
Good. Okay. Thank you.
I guess I have a question about the Middlesex Bank and the connection with the liquor license and them. And this is just an informational thing. I've never heard that before. So what happens to the liquor license if they're not successful?
So what the pledge allows is that before it just goes away, the bank has an opportunity to try to make sure they find somebody else to preserve that license. So it's kind of like a security for the loan, but technically the license itself is not a piece of property. It's not something that somebody can actually sell.
But it's kind of collateral for them at this time.
It is, and it's allowed under Section 23 of General Laws, 138.
Okay,
So
all right, thank you.
I'm personally very excited for this place. I used to go to the North End with my uncle and my dad all the time to bakeries just like this or cafes just like this, so I'm really looking forward to it in Reading. Any public comment here in the room? Maddie, do we have anyone online?
Nobody online.
Great. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Move to close the public hearing regarding the annual all alcohol restaurant liquor license for Bean and Barrel LLC, DBA Bean and Barrel.
Seconded by Sal. Any discussion? All those in favor? And do we have any further discussion before we have a motion? Okay. Do we have a motion to?
Move to approve the annual all alcohol restaurant liquor license for Bean and Barrel LLC, DBA Bean and Barrel located at 45 High Street.
Second?
Seconded by Karen Rose Gillis. Any discussion? All those in favor? 4-0. Congratulations. Looking forward to a new business.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. 8 PM, public hearing, discuss and vote on FY27 non-union classification and compensation plan.
Okay, thank you. Before you tonight, you have,
Do we need to open the hearing?
Too.
I beg your pardon.
Yes. Yep, no,
Sorry.
that's fine, that's fine. I knew you were looking for it.
Probably up the top.
Sorry.
Page 102. I'm sorry, my clicking's not working.
No worries, no rush.
Goodness sakes, come on already.
Page 102, it says.
Yeah, it didn't click from the agenda, so sorry, I have to do this the hard way. 102, okay, excellent, sorry, thank you for your patience. To the inhabitants of the town of Reading, please take notice that the Select Board of the town of Reading will hold a public hearing on May 26, 2026 at 7 PM in the Select Board Meeting Room, 16 Lowell Street, Reading, Mass, and remotely via Zoom to approve the FY27 non-union classification and compensation plans. A copy of the proposed documents regarding this topic will be in the Select Board packet on the website at www.readingma.gov. All interested parties are invited to attend the hearing or may submit their comments in writing or by email prior to 6 PM on May 26 to townmanager@readingma.gov by order of Jane Wellman, Town Manager.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Sal. Any discussion? All those in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Tonight we have with us our HR Director, Sean Donahue, who helped with this plan. And this is his, somewhat his wheelhouse. He presents this annually with the town manager. As some of you have been on the board for a while, know. So this is, the reclassification plan is something that is presented to the board annually after the budget is adopted for any changes to job titles, things like that that we have. I don't know, Sean, if you have a better way of, that's good? Is that fair? Thank you. So what we're presenting tonight are some changes that I would like to make to our classification chart. Some of these are to create some equities because positions that are sort of equal are not on the same classification line, so we wanted to include that. And I wanted to make some changes to the management structure in Town Hall, particularly with regards to administrative services and public services departments. And as informationally, this is a revenue neutral changes. It'll actually save a little bit of money, but it is my intention to not fill the assistant town manager position and leave it on the chart, but not to fill it at this time, because the way that it's set up, so after Fidel came in, when Gene Delios retired, he combined the two departments into one position under the assistant town manager, which I don't think is particularly great. And with FY28 coming and part of this department moving to a new building, I think that some of these changes are a little bit better and they serve us well. So it's also to build resilience in the instance that we don't have an override approved. So the bigger changes are to elevate the current community development director and the current community services director to department head positions. And then we want to bring back, or I want to bring back, the administrative services director role. That is a department head role. The intention here is that it will be a budget heavy position. It will not be taking over the role of the CFO in the budget, but it will be doing budget projections, working budget projections on salaries, expenses, and so forth, and assisting department heads, as the CFO currently does. This is to take some work off that plate. This role would manage the HR department as well. So this position would be, so much of our budget is personnel. And going into this year, we'll be looking at probably building 3 budgets, and also contract negotiations with all 12 of our unions. So there's going to be a lot of salary projections and work that we need to do. And so this role is intended to do that. This will also be the position that held the former ombudsman work. It'll be now the constituent services officer with the changes to the charter. So this is a position that did exist previously. Matt held this position previously, and then it was eliminated under Fidel Mottels. So I would like to bring that position back. So we're also bringing back the business administrator position. That's to reclassify a current role to reflect an existing position, but they're doing additional duties. And so this is more appropriate of a role for that person. We would be bringing the recreation administrator position up to the same grade as the elder and human services administrator position. And the senior center coordinator would be brought up to the same grade as the recreation coordinator. The assistant to the town manager role is a new role that is also reclassifying a current position. So it's not, none of these are, really new hires, to reflect additional duties. So the administrative services director would be a post and interview position. So that would be, either somebody internally may apply or somebody externally may apply, but that'll go through the normal hiring process. Most of the rest of these would be reclassifying current positions.
You said that was the administrative service director, correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any feedback, questions? Chris?
Thanks, Melissa, and thanks, Jane. So you're saying that essentially it's a shell game of positions.
I wouldn't say shell game.
We are moving people around,
It's a little bit.
but there's no assistant town manager, or there is, and it's administrative service director, or what is the deal again?
So there's no title, nobody will hold the position assistant town manager. I'm not planning to open, I'm planning to leave it unfilled.
So if you get hit by a bus, who takes over?
If I get hit by I'm not.
Very big bus.
A very big, very problem. The select board would have to appoint somebody internally, just like you did last time.
And finance-wise, the numbers are not changing? They're going down a little?
They're going
is what
down
you're
about
saying?
$20,000, is that our estimation? I beg your pardon?
Shake out how the shell game works.
Wow. Wow.
It's a 2-on-1, Jane. You have now been outvoted.
I'm not saying that.
That analogy.
I do not like that analogy. No. Yeah, it may be more. That would be the minimum savings.
And I guess my big question is it because your position is not being filled that we are saving the money? Therefore, if it was being filled, we would be over budget by 100,000 or something like that?
I wouldn't be able to make these changes if we filled the assistant town manager position. So we would keep the existing structure. I don't believe the existing structure is as efficient because it's too many different kinds of things that position oversees and doesn't allow sort of the depth and breadth of understanding in each of those divisions. Whereas if they're department heads, they can do more. Additionally, with the administrative services director role that I'm envisioning with a bigger budget role working with the finance department, but really heavily on the personnel side, HR work that we're already doing, that's a big role that we don't have now and it doesn't exist under the current structure.
But we're only able to do this because you're not filling the assistant town manager position.
That's
And
correct.
if that got done, hypothetically, it would the budget would have increased because you'd have to hire that spot and that's 100.
Well, I wouldn't make these changes. So if we were if I were planning to fill it, it's my intention not to fill it and use the savings in this way. The assistant town manager position, I intend to keep it on the chart for down the road someday. It could be that we elevate another existing position under department head to that role with a stipend or a salary increase. So it doesn't have to, it's not really a change in headcount, it's just a different organization.
All right. I still think it's, override issues aside and all that, I understand the cost savings, but going down a position like that seems semi-problematic. You know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't be here if this actually existed, correct?
Maybe, maybe not.
Because you were the assistant town manager and that position would not exist. So it's just, it's good to see this in print and you making changes, you know what I mean, to free up some money. It's just that one position, just seems problematic not filling it.
In other communities, those positions are starting to be whittled away. In some communities, assistant town managers, it's what a town wants to make of it. Sometimes they just are kind of next to the town manager and they go to everything with the town manager. Sometimes they are department heads. You have different kinds of assistant town managers. I think Wakefield has 2 assistant town managers they just appointed. But one is, I think, for finance and one is for human resources. So
you don't have any intention on filling this in the next 3 years?
no.
Okay.
Anyone else? Karen?
So it sounds to me that it's more of a tightening and the reorganization. I like the reorganization. And as far as the assistant town manager position in the past seemed to be, it seems like the duties or the responsibilities of the other directors underneath that are it's kind of tightening it up and making it more defined.
Yeah, this is sort of a flattening of the organization. So previously currently we have a very, the administratives, there's lots of layers that go down. And so in this way, the town manager is a little more direct into the departments instead of, multiple layers between them. And these department heads are experienced in these areas and they know their areas very well and they're experienced in town here. So they're ready to take on these roles. So the administrative services director, we're bringing that role back and we'll interview for that. But that's the intention. And that job description requires 7 years of experience and a master's degree. So, these are serious roles.
I really like that. I think that the finance will need that.
I think it will be strategically very helpful. The finance department is a very busy department. They do a lot of work. We do our payroll internally. We have trust funds that we're managing. There's a lot going on, and we have talented staff. But the budget is going to be a big lift this year. I don't anticipate that's ever going to change, and we'll be able to offer. Administrative services is sort of a department that helps other departments do their pieces. So there's, HR is a good example. Operations serves all of the town departments. HR serves all of the town departments. So in this way, we think this is a role that's heavily working with all the divisions. It's an expert role. It reports directly to the town manager. And we'll be able to take some stuff off the plate. Currently, I'm doing the town manager, assistant town manager, 3 department head roles. So it's a little bit not ideal. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now.
So,
I'm a big fan of the director going in the departments. I like the structure. I just wondered how many direct reports would you have?
I don't know. That's about
Thinking it's
13?
around 12 because there's 9 department heads now.
Yeah.
No, 9 with the assistant town manager, so 11.
So you know,
Maybe.
everybody report to you. 11.
Yeah. We have,
Not that you can't handle this kind of.
oh, no, we have an excellent staff. They're very, very good.
And if they're
communicate well.
good, they should be controlling their own departments anyway, so.
Yes, exactly.
Minimal reporting, I guess.
It's a function of, making it a little bit easier to access the manager to make certain decisions that only the manager can kind of provide. And so,
I also feel like the assistant manager is kind of like a roadblock sometimes too, like.
that can be strategic, though.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's useful.
Yeah.
Sometimes you need a
True,
blocker.
True. True.
There is a role here, the assistant to the town manager.
Yeah.
That's a differentiator from executive assistant. That's one of the existing roles in the division. And that will be more of taking more of an active role in day-to-day meetings, day-to-day operations, and so forth. So that will be a bit of a promotion for that individual and additional responsibilities that that person's ready for.
I like it.
Anyone else have any questions? Karen?
Yeah, so the charter specifies that we can have an assistant town manager, and we've always had one, and I agree that this is gonna be a heavy year for preparing budgets, and I'm sure our financial department needs the assistant, could use the help this year. Is Sharon on the line?
Sharon is on. This isn't the, Sharon is on the call right now, but she is on for the water rates, so I don't know if she's waiting. There she is. She unmuted.
Hi. I think this is a big change, and especially saying it for 3 years makes me uncomfortable. I would agree, Matt held a role assisting Mr. Lilisher. It was very much behind the scenes. It wasn't out front. So one of the things that Matt did was you were put out front and you were given more responsibility, which is absolutely what an assistant town manager should be doing. But I just wanted to hear from Sharon, because I want to make sure that there's no you're in agreement that these are resources that will help you get us through a really tough year together, and that, yes, this is a big change for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely agree that the way it was structured didn't make a lot of sense to me in terms of, putting public services and administrative services together. I didn't think that was the greatest fit, because then the department head didn't have the specialties. So I would agree with that. And I do think we're just trying not to fill positions that don't need to be filled right away.
And that makes a lot of sense, and it's kind of a smart thing to do, so I can't argue with that. So we're not bringing in anyone new, so do we have someone on staff? Okay, go ahead.
I do have somebody on staff in mind. However, we will publish it, we will post it, and we will interview. It'll be a competitive interview process.
Okay, and I was looking at the charter, and we talked about highly skilled qualifications for budget development.
I am happy to share with you not only that job description that we've developed,
I heard
I'm happy to share with you the resume of the person that an interdisciplinary team chooses.
Yeah, okay, because I mean, that's gonna be critical. I think we are seeing some departments that maybe could use some help in that area.
I agree. And I think it's important I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I think
Well, it's just that you've been spread pretty thinly, and even without the override, your plate is full, and you can't be everywhere.
Thank you,
I don't know if
Karen.
you've noticed.
No, but I thank you so much. No, I thank you for that, and I feel the support of this board, and I'm grateful for that support. These roles, I think, put us in a good position for these positions to do the work that needs to be done, and I think it supports our other department heads who are doing a great job, and I'm meeting with them, and Sharon's meeting with them. We've been meeting with people weekly, last week, this week, and then we'll be finishing up the week after next. And to give them support to help them think outside the box, to find ways that we can meet the needs that we have, and then to strategize budget growth too, because we're going through that level 1. So not to go deep into a budget conversation, but I'm confident that this position will be able to help with that work. And this structure, this is not just one chess piece. This is a kind of a holistic movement in a bunch of different places to make it align the way that I think strategically it will work best. And so I do appreciate the board's support for my role and to not be spread too thin, because work-life balance is a thing I've heard. I don't know. But I'm looking forward to making these changes effective for July 1.
And can we, I don't see an org chart in here, just make sure to miss it. Can you, to Sal's point, can you provide us with an org chart?
I can.
Okay, that would be
I
super
can
helpful to
provide you an org chart.
visualize it.
Yep. That's a great ask.
I just wanted to voice my support for this. I think it makes actually a lot more sense, especially for like community development and community services director, to have those people be more specialized in those departments and then add administrative services to help out with budgets and HR and stuff. So I'm full support of this. And I appreciate you doing the work and bringing this to our board to, help the town hall run more functionally, save us a little money and, especially when it comes to budget time and right now with the override, so.
I'd rather put the money, instead of into an administrative position, like an assistant town manager position, I'd rather put the money into the specialists that are doing the department heads. I think that is going to be the priority, and I would say that's going to do better. It's not going to save enough money to hire an assistant town manager, but if that's something that we need somebody to step into, it could be a small change on an existing position. So, in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And how long do you think it will take to hire someone for that administrative services director position?
We are about ready to post that position, so we can go ahead and post that. I think probably within the next week and start collecting resumes and so forth.
Fantastic.
And sorry.
No, go ahead, Karen.
Which of these positions could also be appointed when you have an assistant town manager? We've done rotations before as to who's the acting town manager. So, but when you have an assistant town manager, it's a natural go-to, as Chris alluded to earlier. So, aside from the police chief, who will be rotating through positions when you are
So,
vacation?
yeah, Fidel did that initially. He said he would rotate through department heads because that's something that he had experienced, I think, in Chelsea. I appointed for my departure the police chief because he's already on duty 24/7. And Sharon already signs all the same wires and financial documents I sign. So to have a third set of eyes look at that, and the treasurer also signs all those documents. So in this role, with this structure, I would probably appoint the administrative services director, would be my intention right now, as an acting town manager when I'm out of office.
Okay, and that is a position, we don't know who that is right now?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, well, that's the intention.
Keep us posted.
Well, because that individual works across all the different departments.
Yeah.
And is heavily administrative.
Yeah.
So that would be the
Makes a lot of
intention,
sense.
yeah, and budget oriented. So looking at that wire, does this make sense, looking at things with that same kind of eye? Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Do we have any public comment? Maddie, do we have anyone online?
Nobody online.
Great. If we could close the public hearing, that would be great.
Move to close the public hearing regarding the FY27 non-union classification and compensation schedule.
Seconded by Karen Rose Gillis. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thank you,
And
board.
then do we have a motion to approve this?
Yes.
Okay.
Move to approve the FY27 non-union classification and compensation schedule as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Sal. Any further discussion? All those in favor? 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
We are moving on. 8:15, preview FY27 water and sewer rates, our favorite topic.
I know.
Matt, do you want to come up to the podium?
We're excited to have Matt in person today.
In person.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my
It's like
God.
live and
I was
in
like,
person.
I recognize him, but yeah,
Right?
you've always been on.
Not on a screen, and this is his second meeting tonight, I think. Is that correct?
No, the other one got canceled.
You are heartbroken.
First meeting tonight, only meeting tonight.
Only to me. All right.
Right,
well,
that's always
same.
good news.
Okay.
So we have, in your packets, we have all of the information. Matt is going to present information on the board. Also in the audience tonight, we have the Director of Public Works, Chris Cole, and the Assistant Director of Public Works, Mike Kessman. And this was a really neat process this year. The board put together a little committee. Karen Rose Gillis served on it, and resident Paul Silva, who you've seen many times before the board, participated. And I thought this was a really interesting way of bringing forward a good discussion on rates. Chris Cole, obviously, and Sharon Engstrom participated in this work critically as well. So I did put a memo in your packet with some recommendations. The intention here, the board has always looked out 10 years, and we have a very conservative policy around how we budget, and with these, the water and sewer enterprise funds. What we have found is higher rates of retained earnings, particularly this year with water and sewer. Matt's going to walk us through his presentation. But the intention with this rate structure was to find a way to bring down the retained earnings and apply some stability on the water side and savings on the sewer side, because we've used up some of the excess in the water fund. So we're gonna go through that. We're gonna show you the 5 years. It's important to understand that beyond 5 years, confidence is low in what will happen, because with our conservative approach and with interest rates being what they have been, which is great, it's increased our retained earnings. And so we want to provide some relief to ratepayers if we can. So we provide this information to the board to set the table for this discussion. And then you'll have that conversation, then we'll vote at the next meeting.
Great.
Okay.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone. Matt Abrahams here from the Abrahams Group to talk about water and sewer rates. As the board knows, we've been helping the town for a few years now on water and sewer rates. So this is an update, but as was just mentioned, we worked together as a group this year to dial in the analysis a little bit more than we have in past years. And I'll cover everything with some overview slides with you this evening. We have a few slides just on water. We have a few slides just on sewer. Those mirror each other. And then we have some intro slides that precede those, and I'll walk you through those now. So some of the objectives for this year was to focus on retained earnings balances compared to the town policy of a 30% target of fund expenditures. 30% is, I believe, a true town policy, but one that we've always focused on that percentage with the work that we've done on water and sewer rates. And what the percentage really represents is how healthy an enterprise fund is. We tend to use those percentages to determine how healthy those balances are. 30%, I would argue, is a healthy balance, arguably a very healthy balance. And what we do is we compare the retained earnings balance to the total fund expenditures. So whatever your total budget is, compare the retained earnings balance to that. 30% is great. And you'll see as we go forward here that both enterprise funds have balances well above 30% currently. So that is generally the target that we're looking at, not necessarily trying to get the target in 1 year, maybe 2 years. We took a little bit of a longer term approach to get there, and you'll see that as we move forward. Compare other communities' retained earnings balances to Reading's was another objective tied to retained earnings. Projections, as we've done every year for the town, we look out several years into the future, projecting revenues, expenditures, and their impact on retained earnings. A few years back, we decided to expand our outlook to a 10-year look. And as was just mentioned, we have looked at 10 years. Now we're dialing it in to go a little bit more like 5 years. But we still did the 10-year analysis. This year, we decided to present a 5-year rate plan as opposed to a 10-year rate plan, which you might remember we had a 10-year rate plan last year when we did this work. Next slide, please. So one of the tasks I was asked to work on this year was to compare Reading's retained earnings balances, that percentage I was just talking about a moment ago, for each of the enterprise funds, both water and sewer, to other communities. In this case, other communities was mishmash of different communities, most of them being communities that I work with currently, as well as some other ones that were of interest to the town of Reading. So the one on the table on the left is segregated because those are just water or sewer enterprise funds. So you see a water column and a sewer column. That table, you see the Reading's right in the middle of that. On the right, that's a water and sewer combined enterprise fund. So I just put those in a separate table. But you can see the percentages. Reading, we have water currently at 54%, around 54%, sewer around 96%. The average for water down at the bottom, 43%, sewer around 71%, and the average for the water sewer was about 28%. So it just gives you a little bit of an idea of how the enterprise funds and their health here in Reading compare to some of the other communities that I was looking at. Is that long enough on that slide for everybody? Yeah, okay, great. All right, so now we're gonna go on to just talk about water for a moment before we transition to sewer. So recent results, this is kind of looking back a few years. I've been working with town of Reading, I believe this is my 4th year now. So the table on the top, some of the changes that took place precedes the work that I did. But because of records that Sharon keeps, we're able to easily access that information. So the top table there is, I think that's a 8-year look, 9-year look for the last 9 years of rate changes. This is water. Up until FY24, it was a flat rate. So that meant all usage was charged at the same rate. FY24 was the first year that I worked with the town. Tiers were implemented that year, as well as some tweaks to what the rates were in those tiers. In FY25, water rates were increased 3.75% and no rate change last year. All right. If we go back a year, there was no rate change implemented for the current fiscal year of FY26. The graph on the left compares water revenues to water expenses over the past 9 years, including our current the projections that we have for FY26. That's the current fiscal year. We don't yet know what the final results will be, but we have a decent idea at this point. So the rightmost year is our projection for FY26. The orange line is revenues and the gray line is expenses. You can see it kind of goes back and forth a little bit, but probably overall the orange is outpacing the gray for the most part. The graph on the right is retained earnings compared to that 30% target. That blue line is your 30% target. And you can see the retained earnings has maintained a balance above that 30% for the entire of the past 9 years. Although it has fallen off a little bit from where it was back about 9 years ago. Next slide, please.
Can I just ask a quick question
Yeah,
on
sure,
the
go
side
ahead.
on the left? Sorry, Maddie. Do you know what has caused the spike in from FY25 to 26 in our expenditures?
Okay, so one thing to keep in mind with this is the work that I do with these projections, unless I know definitively that it's not going to happen, I assume that the budget's going to be fully spent. So that expense amount there is the full budget, which may or may not happen. I think historically maybe the full budget has not been spent. So maybe the gray is slightly below that when it ends up being your final results for FY26. But still, there might be something in there that is still bumping it up a little bit. So I'll just take a quick look to see if anything stands out.
Maybe, I don't know if Sharon has any input on that too. Do we know if we're on track to spend our full water enterprise expenditure budget for the year? Maybe.
I'd have to take a look. I mean, we're not done with the year yet. We still have another month.
Yep.
You want to see what percentage we're spent for water?
If you could, that would be great. I'd just be curious. It seems like a big jump of $1 million.
We just approved but it's for FY27 to sewer pump stations. That would be in sewer, not in water.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's water mains.
Oh, sewer.
No, water.
It's
Don't do water. I'm
water.
confusing
Yeah,
the
we're talking
issue.
about water right now.
So right now, we're at 80% of our expenditures. We've got about almost $2 million remaining.
Okay.
From the budget, $2 million in the budget not spent, or $2 million in retained earnings?
$2 million from the budget.
Okay,
$2 million in budget.
okay.
Okay. All right.
Am I looking at that right?
So just some quick analysis. I mean, there's nothing too alarming here. Salaries went up. And again, this is a budgeted number, but it went up $65,000. MW assessment went up about $230,000, but that's not unusual. I guess that's probably a regular jump I would consider. Some other expenses in your budget went up about $280,000. Again, that's a budgeted amount, not necessarily a spent amount. Your debt service is pretty much on par with where it was last year. Your capital outlay line, which is capital spent just in this year rather than being a borrowing, is budgeted at $725,000. Last year it was, the actual is $244,000. So that's a little bit of a jump, and I don't know if that'll be fully spent. Maybe Sharon can comment on that. But again, that's a budgeted number. May not be fully spent.
Okay.
So nothing too alarming in there,
Okay.
in my opinion, at least.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. We can move on to the next slide. So I guess the little caption thing is blocking the bottom of this graph, but that's okay. I can still read it.
Sorry.
That's okay. No, it's a cool little feature, that's for sure.
We've had a lot of requests for that.
Yeah, I can see why. So this is just a pie chart to show you what makes up your budget, in this case, the FY27 budget. The largest expense is the orange area, which is your MW assessment. That's about $3.2 million, making up the FY27 budget, 34%. Your next biggest expense line item is debt service, about $2.3 million, 25%. The bottom area, which you can't see really, is other expenses, and that's my term. It's anything that's in your regular operating budget that is not salaries. I call other expenses. $1.5 million, 16%. Salaries make up just under $1 million, 11%. Then indirects, $755,000, 8%. And capital outlay, nice round number of $600,000, 6%.
Does that, may I ask?
Yeah.
Does that other seem like a reasonable size bucket for that,
For what?
for our budget?
Which,
I can't read it, but you said it was $1.5 million for other.
for other expenses?
Does that seem in line with what other?
1.481.
I mean, it's right around where your 26 budget was. Very similar amount. It's a little bit higher than the 25 actuals. A little bit higher than the 24 actuals. I don't really know enough about what's in there to comment further than that.
Since you work with other towns, like salaries, are salaries usually around 11%? 10% of the budget, or do you not usually have this pie chart? I'm just,
Yeah.
does anything here look out of the ordinary? And you probably work with non-MWRA towns as well, which also makes things different. Because they won't have that big orange
They will
section.
not have that big orange, but then they have to also have other expenses to get them their water, right? So they still have those expenses to source water, to distribute water. And so their chart would look a little bit different. No, I mean, first glance, I think it's perfectly fine, but I also don't have that information at the top of my mind right now. I think we can move to the next slide, please. Okay, so now we're transitioning into the options. So option one, we focused on, for this particular option, we focused on a level increase in the 5 years that we looked at, 3.25% annually. And one thing I want to comment on with each of these options is that our goal was to target that 30% that we talked about earlier, but to do so over multiple years, not just in a 1 year or 2 year. So when I was putting these options together, and we had collaboration with the group as well, just to make sure that these looked okay, my main goal was to make sure I got down to the target by the end of the 5th year, which you can see the blue falling down to the orange there, just above it is where the 30% is. As long as I got that kind of on a steady decline to get to the 30% by the end of the 5th year, I was okay with that. So this is, you're going to see a pattern, a theme with each of these graphs are going to look very similar in that they kind of work their way down to that 30% target over the 5-year period. So this option 1 is a 3.25% annually. When we talk about bill impact, we tend to focus on the average residential user. And we have 2 here for you. That's really based on how much water is used in the household. The first one being 45 gallons per day, and the second one being 65 gallons per day. I'm just gonna pull this up so I can refer to it. So for option 1 here for water, the annual impact is, I'm sorry, where am I? There we are. All right, so for the first average residential user, that's about $23 per year for 1 year for FY27, and the other one being about $34 for the entire year, under the 3.25%. Okay, next slide, please. Option 2 is no increase for FY27. If that were to be approved, that would mirror what happened for FY26. As you'll recall, there was no increase for FY26. So you can see the graph, again, gets you down to the target. But if you're going to do a lower increase or no increase for FY27, then that means presumably you'd have to do higher ones in the outlying years. That's why you see rate increases greater than what we saw in the last slide for the outlying years. And there would be no bill impact, so it's not worth discussing that.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
So last year when we discussed this, in the scenario that you gave us in your presentation last year, you said if we made no changes to the rates last year, that by FY28 we would be under our 30%. And now you're saying that we won't, I mean, that's if we increased it to 4.5 till 228, but like we're way above it. What's changed from last year to this year?
Yeah, so the first thing that comes to mind is that the weather patterns define a lot of what happens with water and sewer enterprise funds. But when I say that, I'm going to caveat it by saying for rural communities, right? It's not going to have the same impact in an urban community because of outdoor water usage. So people who really care about green lawns and watering their gardens, if you get a really dry season, they're presumably going to use a lot of water to make that happen. And if we think about the last 2 summers, those were very dry. The last summer was even drier than the one before it. So what that ultimately means is that revenues come in stronger than we're projecting, because when we project, we're usually on the conservative side when it comes to revenues, just to guard against that wet season. You get that wet season, then you're not going to have as much outdoor water usage, and therefore your revenues aren't going to be quite as high. So when we did our projections last year, it was based on conservative revenue estimates, and then they came in the opposite. They came in strong.
Got it.
So that's probably number 1. And then there are also other things, maybe baked into there. I know that town staff reviews the plans every year. We include in our analysis whatever the latest plan is for in capital, what the town plans on investing over a 10-year period. If anything changed there, then our update would include those changes as well. That's one reason why we look at this every year, because the assumptions generally change. It's not too often that they're the exact same. But I would say probably, the revenue piece has got the biggest impact there.
So the increased water use, because we added second water meters, is actually helping us.
From a revenue standpoint, yes. But
From a what standpoint?
From a revenue standpoint,
yes.
But it also means that you're drawing more water from the MWRA, and they're going to charge you for that as well. But that's like a 1-year delay when that happens. So
Okay.
yeah.
So you think that with these second water meters, we may see an increase next year?
An increase in
Well, you're saying
revenue.
you say they're delayed a year.
The charges from the MWRA, when they charge you their assessment, that's based on water usage from a year before.
Okay.
So if you think about last summer, the water usage last summer is going to hit in FY '27. So that's already part of your budget. But it doesn't hit in '26 when you're charging your users for their usage. There's a delay of 1 year from when the MWRA charges the town for that usage. That's what I meant.
Okay, but would you expect that the revenues that we take in wouldn't cover that? They should, correct? The revenues that we take in with the increased residential water use should cover any increase that we're getting from the MWRA.
I haven't done an analysis on that, but I would think so, yes.
Okay, just wanted to confirm. Thank you, I appreciate it. Oh, Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, just one quick point on that, to Melissa's point that was trailing off there at the end, we're buying water from the MWRA for like $5 and selling it to Reading residents for $13. You will never get the math to change on that. We want to buy more water, we want to sell more water, and our water reserves are always going to be high the more water we sell. That's a period, end of sentence on that scenario. Nothing is changing that demographic ever. We buy it for $5 and sell it for $13. I want to buy my own water and sell it to $12 to everybody in Reading and undercut everyone. That's what somebody else would do if they had the opportunity, but that's essentially what we're doing. I mean, am I wrong? Like, we're buying it for $5 and selling it for $13 or whatever our rates end up being right now. Am I just making this up, or is that essentially?
I actually am not aware of what the MWRA charges for its water. I know what your assessment is. I don't know the per gallon.
Yeah, I believe the breakdown on the assessment is like $5 a gallon or something like that.
Okay, it very well may be, but that's also not the only expense that you have in your budget is the MWRA assessment. And we covered earlier, it's like, what, 34% of your budget?
Yeah, but if we went ahead and doubled the sale of our water, if we're getting it for one rate and you just double it on the other end, I mean, you could just live off the interest from that forever. If you doubled it, like that's essentially what Melissa is alluding to, is by us allowing second water meters, we want to allow more than just second water meters, just everyone just keep using water. Because when you buy it for so low and sell it for so high, that's what we're doing. I mean, you can say staff and all that, the only real outlier is whether or not the impact on the infrastructure with that double increase, if it could sustain that, but you're not tripling the amount of people that you have. You might have a couple extra water breaks or whatever, but beyond that, like, it's just simple math. It's $5 and sell it for 13 or whatever this is. It's something outrageous. So.
Okay, I think we can move on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next slide, please. All right, so option 3 is in the middle of the previous two options. We had a 3.25% and we had a 0. Now we're at 2% for FY '27. Again, the graph looks the same. And based on our analysis, if it were to be 2%, we're looking, we believe, 3.5% in the outlying years to get down to the target. And the impact there looks to be $14-ish for one of the average residential users. And I can't see the other one right now, but it's going to be slightly higher than that. It looks to be about $14. No, sorry, wrong one. About $20 for the year. And those are all the water slides. So we have similar slides for sewer. Would you like to cover those now, or you want to pause here to talk about water?
Does anyone on the board have any questions about water? No? Okay, we'll move on to sewer.
Okay, great. Very similar slides. Oh, sorry, I forgot about this one. We did a comparison of water rates really to bills, because I think we calculated based on the average residential user, what Reading's bills were compared to neighboring communities. And that's presented for you here on an annual basis.
And which one of those Are those all non-MWRA?
No, they're MWRA.
Yeah, so I
Maybe
actually,
not North Reading.
I have that on the slide here. It's not showing on the screen for some reason. All communities listed are MWRA water customers other than North Reading, Wakefield, and Wilmington are partial customers, meaning they don't get all of their water from the MWRA.
Wakefield and Wilmington are partial. Stoneham is all MWRA.
Yep,
So I guess it's not MWRA.
no, Saugus is.
They are.
Yep,
For sure.
yep, for sure.
Okay. They have great water rates. And Woburn does as well.
Yeah, I didn't look at Woburn.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, I think we can move to the next slide. Now we have similar sewer slides. I'll try and go through them relatively quickly. So the rate changes on the top, again, tiers were implemented in '24. That was my first year working with the town on water and sewer rates. FY '25, 3% increase. Last year, there was a 1% decrease for the current fiscal year of FY '26. Same graphs, orange on the left is revenues, gray is expenses. You can see that for the most part, the revenues have outpaced expenses over the last several years for sewer. And no surprise that the graph on the right is showing that kind of a building up of retained earnings over the last few years to a very high level, above 100%, with our current projection for FY '26. So retained earnings for water was strong, retained earnings for sewer very, very strong. Next slide, please. Pie chart for the sewer budget. The MWRA assessment makes up a greater amount in the sewer budget than it did for the water budget, about $5.3 million or 72%. And then everything else is a percentage that's below 10%. Other expenses 8%, salary 7%, debt is 5%. Think about debt for water. That was a lot higher for water than it is for sewer. A very small number for sewer by comparison. Capital outlay 4% and indirects 4%.
So, can I ask a question?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
So Sharon, so we have 2 pumping stations coming, Chris, too. So are we gonna borrow for those and we'll see the debt increase here?
So I can comment on that a little bit, and then Sharon, I'll let you do it. But Sharon, I think this is something that they look at every year. So there's a 10-year analysis that goes out for the capital plan. And I know at least one of the sewer pump stations was kind of a hot topic for some of the discussions that we were having when we were putting this together. One of them is, I think they're both probably pretty expensive, but one of them was assumed to be spent out of capital outlay, and it was a large amount of money. It was like $2 million, but it's in like towards the back end of the 10-year plan. But based on what the town currently has borrowed, there may be a decision to switch that to debt sometime in the future. But it's something that I know the town staff is going to work together to come up with the best way to fund that project. But we just don't know if 10 years from now if it's going to be outlay or if it's going to be debt.
Right, but I mean, we just at town meeting, we have 2 imminent projects. Are we gonna borrow or spend from these funds to finance them?
So for the most recent town meeting, we did ask for authorization for debt for the 2 sewer stations. And the one that he's referring to is a few years out. And because our reserves are so high, sometimes we do just choose to pay it out of reserves and not borrow. So as it gets closer, we make those decisions about whether or not we borrow or not. Since sewer is particularly high on reserves, it would be a good use to bring it down, and then we save interest. We're not paying interest on that debt.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Sharon. Next slide, please. And on to the options. So for sewer, the first option, we're looking at another level plan. You might remember option 1 for water was also a level plan with the same rate changes in every year. This one has a 1% decrease annually in each of the next 5 years, getting down to the target. And if it were approved this way, we're looking at a $6 difference for one of the average residential users and a $10 difference for the other one annually. Next slide, please. Option 2, 3% decrease in 27. This plan has 3 years of a 3% decrease and then 2 years of a 3% increase to get to the target by the 5th year. And the FY27 impact is, on the average residential user, is a range of about $19 to $29 annually. And option 3, next slide, please. 5% decrease. And then we follow that up with no change the next few years. 5% decrease for the average residential user is about $32 to $48 in FY27. And as we covered earlier, it's just a lot, the reserves are very, very strong for sewer. So we do think that some semblance of no change, decrease is definitely in play for sewer here. And next slide would be the final one. So comparison, I couldn't find any sewer rates on North Reading, so I put an NA there.
They have septic.
Okay, thank you. But you can see the other communities that I included in the water table. I was able to gather information on those. And in terms of who's MWRA, I have that for you.
Saugus doing.
Saugus is not MWRA for sewer. They are for water.
They're not MWRA?
They are not MWRA. They belong to Lynn Water and Sewer.
Oh, okay.
And North Reading is not, well, North Reading,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. We're not looking at that one anyway. But of all the communities that do have dollar amounts, Saugus is the only one that's not MWRA for sewer.
So the thing we don't really know yet is what impact, maybe you guys talked about it, what impact the second water meters are going to have on our retained earnings going forward as people use them. They're predicting coastal communities in Massachusetts and New England will be hotter and drier as opposed to wetter. So, well, I mean, nobody knows what's going to happen 5 years out, but I guess what we pick for a strategy tonight is somewhat dependent on the unknown unless you've already built some predictions in there.
No, just, we do have some revenue in there for people purchasing water meters, the right term? Do they pay for?
Yeah, we have them. They
Yeah,
pay
we-
They're not
for
paying
them.
sewer. They're not
Correct.
paying into it.
Right. But in terms of the usage tied to those, we have a little bit in there, but not a whole lot. We think because it's still kind of in its infancy, that we don't truly know what's going to happen there.
Right.
But definitely it's going to be a gain for water revenues. But also on the flip side, sewer presumably wouldn't gain as much, right? Because right now those users are paying for sewer that they wouldn't be paying for when they do their outdoor water usage using second meters.
Right, but they're part of a community and we need sewer. We have a lot of pumping stations, do we not? Yes, so we do. So that's kind of the debate we've had internally as, you know, you belong to a system, so.
We, if I may, Madam Chair, I think we have 250 second water meters we've sold. Chris, is that about right?
Yes.
And that was throughout last year, and then we turned off installations like in the late fall. So we don't have enough data to assess where that would be right now. Is that about right?
227 that are completed and installed and 46 that's still active.
So 227 are completed and installed, and 46 are still active, haven't been done yet. So, and the permit applications have been open for a little while now this spring. Okay.
So those are all the slides I had for you tonight, but happy to take more questions and comments.
All right. Do we have any public comment? Paul?
Question, maybe two
Paul,
questions.
can we just have you come up to the, I'm sorry, if we could just have you come up to the podium, that would be great, thank you.
It's going to be a question.
Paul, if you could just direct it to the board and then we can have
Okay.
that answer, thank you, I appreciate it.
The question I guess I'd like to see answered.
Name and address.
Paul Silver, 12 Autumn Lane.
Thank you.
You saw a slide a few minutes ago on reserves. And we saw 51, I think, for water and 96% for sewer. The question I have is, I believe we made another projection for a year out. What are those numbers?
Okay. If you want to,
Following year on the water and sewer reserve.
Which year are you referring
FY27.
1 year after the 50, the 51 and the 96.
If you just want to let Matt come back to the podium so everyone at home can also hear his response, that would be great.
It's on your chart, so that helps you.
Maddie, can you put the chart back up, please?
The comparison of retained earnings balances.
Yeah, but I think he's referring to something that you haven't seen on the screen yet tonight.
Okay.
So if I understand the question correctly, what he's wondering is, so the chart where we showed the retained earnings percentages at the beginning of the presentation was based on what was last certified for retained earnings. And that took place last fall. And that was after FY25 was completed. So I believe what he's referring to is what our projection is for the end of FY26. Now, FY26 is not completed yet, but we have a decent idea of where it's going to end up based on the work that we've done. And for water, we're projecting it to be 52.5%. And for sewer, almost 108%.
Did you say 108?
108%. It's at 90, it was 96 on the chart, 96.1, but we believe it's going to grow at the end of FY26 as well.
Yeah, but what about FY27? I think you kind of show it on your rate option plans. Because that's where it peaks.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so we have it going up in 27 as well. Is that why you're, okay. So at the end of FY27, based on, again, it's based on the assumptions right now. FY27 hasn't started yet, but we know what the budget is at this point, 148% for sewer.
Yeah.
So we anticipate it growing even further from where it is now.
Yeah.
But that's reflected on the chart here. That's the peak that was just referred to a second ago.
Yep.
So the projection that you have right now, I'm sorry, I just want to clarify that I'm understanding this, is that by FY '27, our retained earnings at what percent increase goes to 148%?
That's based on no change for sewer.
I thought you said 108.
108 at the end of this fiscal year. We're already projecting into the future one additional year. At no change, we think it's going to grow. That's where you see it going up to the peak there before it starts to fall off. So actually, the rate plan that's here, this is a sewer slide. The rate plan that's here is saying if you were to do 0%, again, a lot of assumptions baked into here. But, oh, no, okay, that's fine. Just stay right there, that's fine. Actually, can you go to, oh, we were looking at a water slide, right? Yeah, we were looking at a water slide. So this is a sewer slide. I don't have any that shows 0%, but even with the 1% decrease, you can see it's still growing into FY27 before it starts to fall off. But these projections, that graph is based on the 1% decrease over these few years. So even with that peak, we still think it's going to fall off into the future.
In that jump for FY '27 to 148%, what is creating that increase? Are you taking into account the second water meters?
For sewer, no, we're doing it based off.
Well, because sorry, are you taking into account the addition of second water meters, which will take away some sewer people that won't be paying into the sewer, even though they weren't using it?
We did not include that in our analysis. No.
Okay.
It's based on the current environment.
Okay. But what causes the increase then?
We have the sewer budget for 27, a decent amount below what it was in 26. Part of the reason why is because debt has really fallen off in that year. That's a big reason why. So the budget is a lot lower.
Okay.
For 27.
Okay, that's good to know, because even if this board decided to lower the rates for residents currently, we would still have money if we needed to use that money for projects, for capital projects. Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, another question. Just one other comment on the extent of conservatism. I know Matt didn't mention, but I think he told us at one of the meetings, he's basing the revenue budget off of 2022, which is a rainy year. Rainy years are bad for the budget. He keeps going back to 2022. We've had a drier year and used more water in 23, 24, 25, and even through 26, through March, we've used 6% more. So some of these rates, you know, if I'm comfortable with what the chart shows for 27. Those other numbers, I'm not that comfortable because I think we still have some conservatism in there, excess conservatism in projecting what the revenue is. One of the reasons why we've gone up in our reserves and why we're so much higher in reserve balances than our local towns, and the same thing with why our rates are higher than the local town, at least a third of that reason why we're higher, is because we're using an overly conservative rate. And I would suggest in the future, if we can't do it for this year, for next year, use a rolling 3 or 5 year average. Instead of going back to 2022 and picking the worst year we've had in the last 7 or 8 or 10 years, let's use a rolling average and smooth it out and try to limit the risk that we're going to overprice as we always have done. So again, I think rolling average on, my only concern is we should be using a rolling average on the seasons and not just keep going back to 2022 because it was a wet year. That's one of the reasons why we're overcharging residents both on sewer and water. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Do we have any other public comment? Maddie, any public comment online?
It looks like we have one hand raised for Guy Manganello. I'll ask him to unmute.
Thank you.
Good evening, Guy Manganello, 10 Richards Road. Couple questions. One, we kind of glossed over the expenditures to date with 1 month left in the fiscal year, with looked to be about $2 million left in the budget. You were, Karen, I think it was you was looking to drill in further as to how much of that is anticipated to be spent, just to see how it's tracking for this year. And then the second question is related to the debt service. Looks like we're spending close to $3 million on debt service annually, and I'm assuming those are for some type of payment on capital projects. Just curious why some of the retained earnings aren't being used to pay down those principals faster so that we're not incurring the high interest payments when we could be accelerating that schedule and yielding longer term benefits.
So for the sewer, can you hear me?
Yes.
The $1.984 million, or were we looking, it was water that we were asking that question. I believe it was water. Let me look. I ran it was water.
Yeah.
I actually ran a breakout, and it's because there's certain things that haven't been expended. So there's $675,000 of capital that hasn't been expended yet. There's another $500,000 that hasn't been expended for long-term debt. So there's just timing of when payments are due, I'm imagining is the reason for the long-term debt. As far as using the reserves to pay off debt for water, we had talked about it, Paul and I, about, paying off the buy-in, but we're so close to it being paid off already. The earliest we would have been able, because I didn't have it built into the budget that we brought into fiscal 27, would be 28, and that's the last debt payment on that buy-in already scheduled for 28. So we do tend to pay our debt off very quickly, and we're trying to do the best we can with the reserve situation, trying to find things that we can use it for. Sometimes we'll use more reserves in a given year to pay for more capital and not borrow for it. So we do tend to do a lot of that.
Sharon, can I ask a follow-up question? Out of that 500 in capital and 600-ish, I think you said, in expenses, what do you expect to be paid out? Do you have any idea?
I would say that if it's the debt, we don't usually put a lot of extra in the debt. I would expect all of that to be paid. Okay. And that 675, I would just expect it being encumbered by year end. It could be that we won't have it in, but there will be a PO probably issued for whatever the 675 was. If it was, infrastructure work, it looks like it's infrastructure work. I would expect capital to be spent. Usually we don't plan for capital and not use it. I don't think we leave $675,000 on the table. At this time of year, I tend to reach out to all the department heads and highlight their capital, because there have been times where They thought they issued a PO and they didn't, and then the money closes out to free cash. So I do kind of have a tendency to remind the department heads of what's on there for capital, because it tends to be some of the larger expenses. We want to make sure that that money doesn't close out, that we actually get an encumbrance in by the end of the year, even if we're not going to get the asset in place by the end of the year.
Fantastic. One quick question, just to follow up on what Guy had asked. Did I hear you correctly in saying that our debt to the MWRA will be paid off in FY '28?
Yes.
Won't that increase our retained earnings? No, it won't. Or
I mean,
no,
it
just
would,
come
it
off
would
our
make our
revenue.
budget overall less, so it would
Okay.
definitely, but we've got some planned debts going out. So this past town meeting, we actually had debt authorizations for not water, but sewer. We always have infrastructure work, so we probably replace the debt with some more infrastructure work that we're doing. But what we have for MWRA was a very large debt, bigger than what we normally would borrow for it in the water department. So to have that fall off is a good thing. It just, we hadn't planned to pay it off early. A lot of the municipal debt, there's guidelines of when you can pay things off. You can't pay things off early always, but closer to the end of the term, you absolutely can. So we could have, but I had already built a budget without paying it off for fiscal '27. I would have had to change what FinCom had voted on. And, when Paul brought it up to me, like as a potential way to use some of the reserves. And then he said, well, why don't we do it for '28? I'm like, that's when it's scheduled to be paid off. So we are very, very close.
Fantastic. Thank you. Sorry, Chris.
No, I just wanted to mention that 600,000 of that unexpended capital for FY '26 is for the Hopkins Street water main, and we're opening bids on that in 2 weeks. So once we know what that comes in at, then we'll encumber that money.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
And it'll be encumbered.
Here it is.
Appeal.
Do we have anyone else online, Maddie?
Guy has his hand raised again, but nobody else.
Okay, Guy. Go on, unmute.
Thanks. So just as a follow-up to that, do we have a mechanism in place that would make, I'm sure you're all doing this internally, but where this can be reviewed in a more frequent cadence, so that decisions like paying the debt off early, like how much would we have saved had we paid the MWA off earlier for the 2028? How much would the interest savings have been, right? So I keep hearing the word override being thrown around, and these are the exact type of critical thinking situations that we need to look at on every line item in the budget to find ways to minimize our debt burdens, especially when they're frivolous and we have the cash to pay them. So just wondering what that savings would have been had we paid it earlier.
So the debt for the water department was at 1.49% and 1.26%. And currently we're already earning more money on our reserves than I would be saving in interest. That's the short answer.
Well, that's awesome. That's good to hear. So that answers that. And then is there a mechanism for us to be looking at this in a more frequent cadence, or maybe you're already doing it? So
we do look at it on a regular basis. We look twice a year. We're looking at capital and debt with the department heads very closely to determine, are we going to borrow for things? When are we doing certain capital items? It is looked at least twice a year, if not more. And it is something that is heavily questioned in terms of capital for sure, like especially in the general fund. What's priority? What should we be doing? So there's definitely probably more that we can do to get resident input on what they think should be priority on the capital plan. But since the pandemic and all the cost inflation we've experienced in capital, we're not kind of reaching the timeline of, when it comes to replacing assets, we're late to replace assets. If an asset's got a useful life of 10 years, we're lucky if we get to it by 12 or 13 years because the costs have gone up so much. So it's more kind of like the timing the timing ends up being what asset can last long enough to wait. Do you know what I mean? Like, so we're in that situation that the cost of kind of plotted out anything that's nice to have, and it's kind of, priority is based on what has to happen.
Yeah. Okay. Just interesting thought, because we, and I appreciate that. We see we have an interest reserve. A reserve account that's enterprise fund that's increasing to 100% of the planned budget. So you wonder those retained earnings, are we being, I guess, what is the thought process against using them more often? Because we've obviously had the ability, we've had expenditures, right? What is triggering the no decision on using them and allowing that to continue to balloon?
We use them every single year to try and stabilize or reduce the rate. So in large volume, over $1 million every year, we've been using for water and sewer stabilization. So we're using these reserves to try and bring down or stabilize the rate. So we're not using it. We're using large amounts of it and then continuing to regenerate. So sometimes, when it comes to water and sewer, specifically water, we are conservative about how much water we're going to sell because we don't know if it's going to be a rainy season or not. And so the way we do budget is the way we've always budgeted, and it's turned out to yield a lot of reserves, but it doesn't always work out that way. So I feel like we are always looking at the level of reserves and trying to use as much as humanly possible in every given budget year to try and bring the rate down instead of up. And use as much as we can to kind of have the reserves start to go down. Just things sometimes come out of nowhere that really help us. We are getting great returns on our investments, and that always outperforms what we put in for budget because we tend not to have very aggressive investment earning returns because we expect the interest rates are going to go down and we continue to perform at a high level with our investment returns. So some of those areas where we're conservative and projecting the budget yields, regeneration of our retained earnings.
If I can also speak to that, Madam Chair. That's a great question. And part of the limitation is also human capital. We're down in engineering. It's funded, but we're not filling it. And the previous town manager didn't fill it, and I'm not going to fill it. And part of the reason for that is because we don't know what FY28 is going to yield. So we are getting ready to start 2 new sewer projects, sewer pump station replacements, right? Yeah, full replacements. And then we have another one planned a few years out. I think it's FY31 or FY30, something like that. It's in the capital plan. And we talked about, do we want to move that up? That was one of the conversations. But we have to do design work before we can do that up. So it's a year of design work. And we have to put that out to bid. And we can also only put so much pressure on the engineering department with everything else that's going on with paving, with construction projects we have going on in town, with the High Street project going on. So, Guy, to your point, we only have so much capacity in human capital to run projects internally, if that makes sense. So.
Yes, it does. Thank you, Jane.
No, it doesn't. And thank you both for explaining that in great depth. I just, we sit back, we look at our water bills and we think, wow, these are high. And then we for those of us that have the time and the patience to get granular into these things, you wonder how can we, and it sounds like Sharon's done a great job of putting the money to work, so at least it's earning and growing for us so that we can pay down the rates a little more aggressively and offer a better rate. But just getting nervous about this, the word getting thrown around on an override and seeing we have these kinds of surpluses and thinking, gee, what else can we do to really drill into these things and challenge the board here in front of us to get granular on each one of these line items and find ways to get creative to help us mitigate those overrides. So thank you both. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Guy. Any more discussion with the board? Chris?
Thanks, Melissa. So I looked it up, and we currently pay $4.99 per 1,000 gallons to the MWRA for the water, and then we're selling it between $11 and $13 to residents. And obviously, there's capital and all the other expenses that everyone has gone over. So we're not just ripping people off in that aspect. But it is more along the lines of the more water that we end up selling, the more we're going to have in reserves. And then the Quabbin Reservoir is at 85%, even though current drought conditions for the last month or two. So that does not seem to be moving, which sometimes would cause worry if it was dipping, but bless you. But that's currently at 85%. So I just think that looking at the rates that was presented to us, I mean, the sewer thing is just outrageous. And I wonder how long that we've been continuing that on. If we didn't do what we did last year, what position we'd be in. Because, you know, we quabbled over 0 and under 1% or whatever we did last time. And look where it got us, in the phenomenal position of us potentially keeping everything at 0 or going down or whatever again. So I'm not sure how this doesn't continue every single year when we see projections that always tell us that we're screwed 5 years from now every single time. And it just never seems to be actually happening. So.
Madam Chair, I think you make an excellent point, and the committee talked about that exact scenario. And that's why we're recommending option 3, particularly on your sewer, which is a 5% rate reduction next year. You're going to look at this again next year. We're going to bring this back to you next year, and we'll see what the reserves are then. You know, we'll know what the capital expenditures are going to be, and they're already in all of the 10 years out. He's put those in the model. So, you know, we don't know what the future will bring. We don't know what it holds. We budget conservatively, but we think that we can be aggressive in the short term. And we think that looking sort of further than 5 years out, we shouldn't make our decisions on what might happen in year 6. We should look at where we are right now, because we look at this again annually. And we're happy to, you know, bring back mid-year if you want to, what the current, you know, reserves are, what sales are looking like, that kind of thing, if that's of an appetite to the board. So.
And then one other item that maybe would go for future agendas is the whole water restrictions that we have in place. So I know we discussed the wells and everything here, and that's what's tying us to the outside watering restrictions. So we have to have a discussion based off that. Because in my opinion, well, I guess it's on the agenda, we're talking about water. Because in my opinion, that's hamstringing us on the water rates again. We're just restricting people from buying water that we want to sell them so that the rates can go down for everybody. Sure, you're going to pay for your water, whatever you end up using, but overall, the rates for everybody will go down if you use more water. So that's why I'd like to see, you know, us just look at that. And I think we were going to get numbers, Jane, or something, right? How much the wells have been costing us to maintain over the couple of years.
Yeah. No, I
don't need them now, just for a future thing when we end up discussing.
We have it on a future agenda. We discussed that. We'll bring it back to the board.
No, it's a great point. And it's worthwhile for people to understand that it's due to an interbasin transfer agreement and an agreement with the DEP when we moved from the current system, the old system, to the MWRA. And that's what makes us have this water restriction that only allows outdoor watering every other day.
And I guess for the future thing, if you can find out what the penalty for violating that would be, beyond us just not mentioning it ever again. Do we have to mention it, or do we not have to mention it?
Great question,
You know,
Mr.
if we
Haley.
don't have to mention it, then maybe we don't mention it. And everyone wins.
Any other discussion with the board? Okay, we're gonna move on. Thank you very much for tonight. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Guy, for public comment. We are moving on to
It's not.
8:45, discuss and vote to appoint select board member to the school committee naming policy committee. Chair of the school committee reached out to me, Sean Brandt. They are putting a committee together for athletic facilities to their naming committee. And one of the membership spots is a select board member. Chris and I are both the school committee liaisons. I don't think I can take this on anymore, so I would like to nominate Chris, but I wanted to bring it to the board for a vote. Not entirely sure that it was required. It was a little unclear in our policies, but I just thought it was the right thing to bring it to our board is for a vote. So I am nominating Chris to be on that committee, and if any feedback, discussion, I'd be happy to take it.
I'm not even sure what it does.
So they are, I don't know if this committee, I don't know if they just added this policy because they have 2 athletic facilities to name, or if it's just their current policy.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, but they do have 2, the weight room and a field. Do we know what else they're naming?
It's going to be the weight room and then probably the training, the other, it's in the field.
The fitness center,
So, yeah.
we have a new
It's the
fitness
one
center
that's
that
downstairs. I
was
think
all
it's like the
donated
field
by
house.
a donor.
Yep.
Yep,
Two different donors.
Claudia Mix.
Yeah, 2 different donors. So.
that's right.
Yeah, it's 2 different areas that they are putting this committee together to name, so their requirement for their committee is to have 1 select board member. Any feedback? Yes, Karen.
I served last time for the field house. I'm happy if Chris wants to serve this time.
Great, thank you. Any other discussion? Yeah.
I'm just happy to do it. I know I'll mention it in liaison reports, but I attended the Charlie Hardy naming facility for the field over there, and it's good to see the recognition for people that have given so much to the town, given back. So
Thank you. We don't have any more discussion. Do we have we have a motion. Karen, do you have a motion? I think you do.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Move to adopt move that the board appoint Select Board Member Chris Haley to the school committee naming policy committee.
Seconded by Karen Rose Gillis. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. I will let Sean know. Discuss and vote public comment practices. This was something that I know that we've kind of gone back and forth. Again, I wanted the full board's input on this. I will be transparent and say that I loved the new practice of adding public comment after every agenda item. I thought it allowed residents to, give us, real-time feedback. But I also see that it created challenges at times. So just kind of wanted the board's feedback on this. And then if we, could vote on an agreement and just that.
So just to clarify 2 policies, it used to be only at the beginning of the meeting,
Yes,
and now it's before every agenda.
after every agenda, yeah.
Okay, every agenda. Okay.
So just wanted to get any feedback, Karen.
Well, I agree with you. It did create some challenges, and so did our old policy, because sometimes people would like to raise their hands and comment, and if we don't have a policy, you're kind of trying to figure out, how far you want to let it go before your meeting goes off the rails. And there was another aspect of it. So the other thing that, without going off topic, we also used to do discuss one meeting, vote the next meeting, which also gave the community time to send us emails. We're not getting as many emails anymore, so that could be something else we could discuss separately. I think the challenges of this after every agenda item outweigh the benefits personally. I think it made our meetings too long.
Fair point. Anyone else? Chris?
thanks, Melissa. So if anyone has paid attention to how this meeting has gone, the reason why Paul and Guy got to speak technically is because they were public hearings. So that, we had to open it up to the public, and, that's why they were able to participate. And if it could be like that all the time, which was in theory the way that Melissa and I had instituted this in the beginning, that would be great, because that's the way, in a perfect world that is supposed to operate. Because we are going to end up, like Karen just mentioned, in the gray area of having somebody here who has input on something with a recal or something, and then it's going to be like the chair is playing favorites with picking this person, but then next time someone else is going to, and then, you know what I mean? We're going to put ourselves in that position where it's going to look like we're picking sides and favorites. So to Karen's point, I agree that it has devolved beyond outweighing the benefit of us doing it. I wanted more public participation in the meetings. It's not up to me to say what should be allowed and shouldn't. We put the policy into place, and the public can, go by that policy. And I might not have agreed with some of the things that were said or instances that were brought up, but that's, the bed that I chose to make on this, and that's what ended up happening. So you can't fault people as much as I would like to that seem to take advantage of it at times. But I think that having it go back to the way that it was, specifically for the next agenda topic, I think would be more beneficial. It's unfortunate, and we're going to be put in the position next meeting, the following one, where someone's going to want to say something, and then it's going to get awkward. But, it's up to the chair to allow comment, and that's the way it goes. So.
I just feel like you can't get consistency if you open. It just should be a certain amount of time and then cut off. Because there's always going to be, hard feelings that you heard this one and didn't hear this one. In my opinion, I try to live, very consistent, very rule orientated. I think that would be my vote.
So are you saying keep it after every agenda item or no?
No.
Okay, just wanted to understand. Carrie?
So I like it after every agenda item. I think we're here for the people, and I think that, yes, sometimes it goes off the rails, but we have to expect that dealing with the public. I do think that during hearings, it's a little bit more flexible. Like, I appreciated you having the gentleman come back up again, even though technically, you may not have wanted to, but I think it's important that they feel heard. I agree with Karen in the sense that we are not getting as many comments or emails from people, and I don't know what that is about. So I don't know if we'll ever figure it out, but I think I did like it.
Me too.
So I don't know if there's a way to
but
tweak it to make it.
So I think my understanding is that any time, if we took it away after each agenda item, at any point, if there seems to be a topic that is of great interest to residents, the chair at that time can allow public comment after the board discusses it. But you do run into you can run into situations where if one person comes in and they may be online and you don't call for public comment, that it could be you allowed it for this, but you didn't allow it for that. And I don't really want to run into that, so. Oh, I thought you.
Finished.
Oh, yeah, no, that's all. I just don't want to run into those situations. That's all I was gonna say.
Yeah, so, I agree with Karen. We are here for the people, right? But I also feel like tonight was only 3 people in the crowd.
We don't know how many people are watching online.
No, but I'm saying people who want to talk. And once you start getting 50 people, then it starts getting out of control, right? And I also like what Karen, Eric said, don't vote till the next, maybe hybrid, something like that. We discuss this meeting, then we get more emails hopefully, and we can do it in a more controlled fashion. And then we hear the people as well. I don't know. I'm just spitballing.
Yes, Chris.
Thanks. I think that goes to the 9:15 discussion and vote on consent agenda, because that's kind of doing that. It's taking away a lot of formalities that we usually vote yes on. I don't want to say it's automatic, but it's automatic. And trying to get away from that, which will shorten the overall theme of the meetings and then have more time. The reason for discuss and vote that was happening, it's just, a lot of hot button items still are discuss one meeting, vote at the next. Like water rates, we're voting at the next one. Split tax rates, same thing. So those kind of hot items, the public still gets to weigh in on. They can still send emails, but those kind of things. There's not a long line of people wanting to speak up on who gets appointed to the school naming committee. You know what I mean? So maybe we leave it up to the chair's discretion if we're all in agreement on that, if somebody has something relevant, like Brian Bowe, I know Bowie has been at a bunch of meetings and always wanted to give feedback on conservation stuff. And now it gets into the, you know what I mean? Like we don't let them kind of thing on the topic. So maybe we leave it up to the chair, because if you take public comment, obviously at the beginning of the meeting like we do, then we're good. If you take public comment on an item, then you have to allow it for everybody on that item. But then on another item, you don't have to do that because you're not selectively picking and choosing. But we just have to be in agreement as a board that, the chair and a bunch of us, if we felt like, you're not making the right decision or something, that someone else should be able to speak kind of thing, we can kind of, go that route. But I think if we leave it up to you and if we're in agreement with that, we'll see how it goes. And if, we can always add it to another agenda to completely just erase it, but maybe that's the happy medium, you know what I mean? So we still get.
So do you think maybe topic by topic, like on the agenda actually state, for instance, today, let's say the naming thing, you can say public, in parentheses, public comment allowed at this time, or
No, I think it's more played by ear, by the chairs, just chair and maybe vice chair, you know what I mean? If you both agree, then it happens. If it's a split, it's the rest of the board kind of thing. Just see how it goes, then we get both worlds, I guess. I don't know.
love that.
So,
I just don't want to put too much pressure on, like, Melissa's gonna be like, you can talk and you can't talk.
well,
right?
no,
And
it
that's-
would be, for me, or even for my understanding is if a chair allows public comment on a agenda item, they would have to allow everyone to talk for the same
Okay.
amount of time.
Okay.
You can't just say, oh, only 2 people can speak
well,
on
that's what
that.
I'm- that's
Yeah,
what I'm
no,
for.
that's
That's
my
what I'm saying.
understanding of how it would have to work.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm good with that if everyone else on the board is. I think we just need to try to focus on making our meetings more efficient and not as long.
I don't know what I'm good with. What was the actual outcome?
Yeah. So I think if, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I think we've agreed to adopt a new public comment practice that it will be just public comment in the beginning, and then at the chair's discretion on a topic, we can allow public comment on that topic.
And I think we could make it more broad, that it's just chair and vice chair kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Chair
You
and
two
vice
working together.
I'm happy to take that input.
Input from the town manager.
Yeah.
People might be stopping her in the street.
Please, take questions. Yeah, no, and I think I feel like in most cases, it's pretty clear when there are topics that residents feel like they would like to give input on. I feel like that's usually pretty clear, and
I agree.
yeah, and I feel like as long as we're allowing 2 minutes per person, and, keeping it very consistent, then okay.
I think that's a great decision on the part of the board, and it gives you the best of both worlds, and it gives you all the flexibility in the world. If people come in and something's changed and they want to talk about something on the agenda later, but they want to hear the board's thoughts first and respond to that, that's valuable.
I think if we also impose something saying, if you have something additional to say, as opposed to sometimes it's the exact same verbiage over and over and over again, like maybe we could try and, you don't want to shut people off, but explain that we'd like to hear all the different points of view. I
We have
don't
to
know
be
if you can
careful
enforce
with-
that or not.
We can't control what people say.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
You can suggest it and they can tell us to
suggest
go.
No, but no controlling what people say.
So it's just the beginning and then up to the discretion of chair, vice chair.
The full board, really. Like if
Yeah.
there was input from you guys, I would take input from you guys at any point if you thought that there was residents that wanted to give some feedback.
Stuff not being said.
Yeah.
Stuff that hasn't been said yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Did we have an actual vote on this? Oh, yeah, we did. Okay.
Okay, move to adopt public comment practices as discussed. Move to continue public comment with the 2-minute limit at the beginning of the meeting, and allow the chair and the vice chair and the town manager to add public comment to other agenda items as needed.
Second.
Seconded by Karen Rose Gillis. Any further discussion? Nope. All those in favor? 5-0. Thank you. We will now move on. 9:05, we're a little behind. Discuss and vote on police presence at select board meetings. As we all know, we've had a police detail, thank you, for many of our meetings recently. I did support keeping this the last time we discussed it for various reasons, but I do think at this point it's not needed. We need to be cognizant of spending money, which I am aware of, although it wasn't overly expensive. But I do still want to point out that going into override discussions, I feel like, you know, people are going to be a little emotional about conversations. So, you know, just hopefully we can keep things respectful and, you know, allow conversations to still happen. But, you know, just keep things respectful and appropriate. So.
Yeah, I really feel like it's our job to do that. It's not the job to keep, you know, as leaders, you know, conduct the business of the town in a respectful manner.
Absolutely.
I think it'll carry into the crowd.
Agree.
You can always take recesses if you think things are getting out of control.
Yeah.
Take a 5-minute break.
I agree.
Chris, sorry.
Thanks, Melissa. Jane, just a couple questions on the billing. I see that on 2 instances, it noted 5 hours next to each one. Is there a 5-hour minimum, or why are these ones being called out for 5 hours?
Were they long meetings?
Because they were
I think they were long meetings. We had
I
some
only,
11 PM.
They have to be rounded, see, they have
I
to be
only
rounded.
There's not a
say,
5-hour minimum.
Oh my God, another incentive. No, it's 10:50 now, we have to finish. Yeah.
I only mention
Come at 6:30 too.
that because when I saw the 2 ones being called out for 5 hours, I wondered why these ones are mentioned at 5 hours and no other ones are mentioned. So I went back and checked the RCTV thing, and one meeting was 4.5 hours, so that makes sense. But another meeting was 3.5. So unless it went into executive session at the end and someone was still kind of here,
What day was it?
I believe the 3:10 one was shorter by an hour than the 3:24. So
I don't
that's
know
my
if they're
only.
3:10. There was definitely an executive session. I don't know. what
And I
it's
only say
regarding.
that because, like I said, these ones are both being called out as 5 hours for some reason, as opposed to all the other times that are in here.
Because the other ones are just within that 4-hour limit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm happy to check into it, make sure it's not a scrivener's error, if you are cool with that.
Perfect. And then the other one is that the 512 meeting, Lieutenant Jones is overinflating this actual number because he was here for the parking enforcement thing for
So-
Woburn Street.
So these rates are based on who's available, and we pay overtime to who comes in. So you might have 2 different rates there as well. So you've got Lieutenant Jones is lieutenant, and you pay a higher rate for that.
But what I'm saying is that when somebody looks at this number, they think that it's $4,500 for the select board to have a police presence here related to what happened in December. And that is not accurate because Lieutenant Jones on 512 was here for the parking enforcement.
No, that's correct.
Which means you minus 532 off this number and then takes you under 4,000. So I'm just saying it's inflating the number.
So we asked the select board to give it, we asked the police department to give us their values. And so they gave us the values for all of the officer coverage at at select board meetings, which includes Lieutenant Jones. So to your point, related to this policy, yeah, I would take off Lieutenant Jones's value.
Somebody was there.
Yeah, it was 2 officers.
There's 2 numbers.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you can find out what the other thing is with the numbering thing.
Yep, I can find that out.
But yeah, other than that, I mean, how Melissa had mentioned, you know, maybe changing the public comment thing, tweaking it a little is going to curtail things. in my opinion, unfortunately, I don't think that's going to be the case. I just think that it's, if not now, but when is something going to happen again, not pertaining maybe to the select board or maybe rec or somewhere else, FinCom, override stuff. I just think that, we can only control what we can control within, the select board kind of meetings. And I'd like to say that things have tapered down, but, hopefully it stays that way, being optimistic. I guess the only reason that I would be okay with this, and I think that I'm settling by saying that, because at the same time, like I said, I don't want anything to happen in the future, not just with us, with any boards or committees, you know what I mean? And we can't police everybody. Is that, you mentioned at the last meeting or the prior one that, an apology was made to you and your office over what happened. And I think that is at least a starting step in this entire equation. So I'd be okay with, suspending this for now and then, hoping for the best.
Any other further discussion? Great. I think we have a motion.
Move that the board, we decide, is this going to be a not continue?
Yes,
Okay.
I think, correct? Fair, I think everyone agrees, yep.
Okay. Move that the board not continue to have police presence at select board meetings.
Second. Second by Karen Rose Gillis. All those in favor? 5-0. Fantastic. Moving on to our next agenda item, which was a discuss and vote on consent agendas. Karen and myself were all at a WeMo virtual mentoring conference a couple weeks ago. We had some breakout sections, and one of the things that I really took away from this session was that the use of consent agendas during meetings. I just think, I also know the school committee uses consent agendas. I think it's just a way that we could have a tool for some just administrative things like minutes, licenses, appointments, standard contracts, routine budget things, resolution proclamations, all of those things can be put on a consent agenda to just try to compress our meetings a little bit, and just, allow us to get into, more discussion on maybe some more strategic stuff or controversial stuff, especially with override talks coming. I just think it could help make our meetings a little more efficient, and I wanted to get everyone's feedback on what they think about that. One thing I will say is that even if something is on a consent agenda and a board member feels strongly that they don't want to just vote yes or no on that piece of it, they can ask for that to be removed, so then it can go on to our regular agenda and we can have a conversation about that topic. So that's why when the consent agenda is listed on our agendas, if that's something we go forward with, we would be very specific on those items so that at any time we can remove it from consent agenda and have a conversation on it. So just wanted to get feedback from you guys and see if that's something we could do moving forward, just to, move our meetings along a little bit. Go ahead.
You first, Karen.
So operationally, we would get the consent agenda items originally a couple days in advance.
I think it would be with our packets.
With our packet.
And on our agenda.
And do
like
we
normal.
let you know in advance what we'd like pulled off, or do we tell you during the meeting?
I don't think it's necessary to tell someone ahead of time unless you
It would just
know,
be in the
but
meeting.
it could be on the
Okay.
fly. Yeah, absolutely. I don't think it's necessary to, make it known beforehand.
And let's say a proclamation, and I'd like to read it. I could just say, hey, can we just pull that out of the consent and put it in, and we move on that way?
Yep, that's my
And do
understanding.
we vote on the items if I want to have something pulled off, or is it automatically pulled off?
That is a great question. Jane, do you know the answer to that? If
I'm
a
sorry?
board member asks for a consent agenda item to be pulled off the consent agenda to go on as a regular agenda item, does that go to a board vote? Or
Or does it just get pulled off?
Usually it's just sort of a personal privilege.
Okay.
So as you're going through, one member would say, Madam Chair, can we take this item out of the consent agenda? Yep, and then you just vote the rest of the consent agenda, and then that member can
Okay.
talk about it.
Okay.
That's been my practice with consent agendas.
Sal?
So consent agenda could be 5 different items, and you just order them all at once.
Yes.
That's what I understand, okay.
But they would still be listed on our agenda, so the public would be clear of what they are, and any supporting information would still be in our packet like normal. Just would not be 5 different discuss and votes
Right.
on topics.
Okay, speed it up. I'm in favor of that.
Chris?
Thanks, Melissa. I think that it gets in the gray area of open meeting law scenarios where if board members in advance are telling you to take stuff off that you and Karen may have already discussed. So I think if things go to Jane, and then if we can just agree that if one board member wants it to come out, then it comes out regardless.
That's
I think that would be fair.
That's a fair assessment, but I also think I don't think it would ever be necessary to have to bring it up beforehand, that it needs to be.
Yeah, I was just
Someone would
asking
like
because I
something
never
to be
heard it
removed.
before we're talking about it, so.
Yeah, because we'll get the packets on Thursdays and whatnot, so we won't know until
Right.
then anyway. So, I mean, as long as one person wants to have it out and we're all in agreement, then that's fine. I think it will add, the school committee does it well, and they have tons of items on their consent agenda. Like, I don't see us ever hitting the numbers that they have. And they seem to do it well, so it's something good that we can pull from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Any further discussion? I believe we have a motion.
Yep. Move to implement consent agendas as discussed.
Second.
Second by Karen Rose Gillis. All those in favor? 5-0. And we are moving on to liaison reports. Who would like to start?
Would you like me to start?
Either way.
All right. Okay. All right. On 5/20, I attended the financial forum with a number of other board members and finance committee members and the superintendent, as Jane alluded to. So Jane, and I don't know if Sharon's still on, but thank you. It was a terrific presentation, and I know we had already seen a preview at our retreat, and I still think it's great, and I'm glad the attendance was really good. And as we're already getting questions in public comment about, how this override's going to impact us and how can we minimize it, one of the things I wanted to just let the public know is that we also discussed that there are 10 ballot questions coming up in the fall. And one of the ballot questions is reducing the income tax from 5% to 4%. And if that passes, it already throws an element of uncertainty into an already difficult budgeting process. But a study or a report by an analysis by Tufts University said that, in November, at the same time, we may be voting for our override. If that passes, it could be a 10% hit in the funds that we get from the state every year. So just wanted to make sure people were aware that these ballot questions were coming up. I met with the MMA Energy and Environment Policy Committee. So we had a great discussion on water and sewer rates tonight. And one of the things that came out of that was making sure that member communities in Massachusetts knew that there are a number of state and federal organizations that do provide extremely low-cost water and sewer infrastructure financing. And I shared that with Jane and Chris and Sharon. In the past, MWRA has not given us a rebate, but always offering 0% financing, which is, but so anyway, I wanted to make sure that was known as Sharon and Chris are figuring out what to do with these sewer stations, that there are no grants necessarily, but if it's cheaper than going to the market to get debt, we might as well consider that as well. I missed Memorial Day activities. However, I wanted to provide kudos for DPW and the cemetery staff, and the resident volunteers, including members from the Lions Club and the Scouts, who put out all of the plant stakes. And one of our boards and committees was I forget which one, sorry. So some of our hardworking volunteers put out all those plant stakes, and this was my first time participating in that. And the Wood End Cemetery looked fabulous, looks better than the town hall lawn, so I know where they were, putting all their effort. But that was really great, and I just appreciate all those volunteers who put out those hundreds, must have been thousands of stakes in all 5 cemeteries in town. I also attended the last Game Changers session of the ACE Committee. This one featured a book discussion on Red and Me regarding Bill Russell and his longtime coach. And the library has multiple copies that they were able to bring in from surrounding libraries. And it's a good read, it's a quick read, so I highly recommend that. And kudos to the ACE Committee for a really well-attended 3-part series, really educating the community on Bill Russell and his accomplishments on and off the court. I was able to attend the plant sale, and I know Jane did as well, and that was really popular, and the weather cooperated, and that was wonderful. The audit committee met with RMLD and the RMLD Citizen Advisory Board a week or so ago to review the last audited financials. No issues were brought up. The general manager did commit to no rate increases for this upcoming year, and I thought that was very bold, but I thought it sounded great. Let's see. And the only other thing I wanted to highlight, the library is having a ribbon cutting, I believe it's next week, for their terrace. So I'm sure that has already been publicized on our website, and the terrace looks great, and I'm looking forward to that. Thank you.
Ready? Ready. May 13th, I attended the first of 2 episodes of a MMA-sponsored Override webinar. It was really, really great. They talked about how to get your message across, how to frame your narrative, maintaining the goal of doing the least harm when discussing overrides and budgeting. I know staff is already doing more with less, and at some point, we don't want less to become permanent. So when people say they're going to add new things to the budget, it's really not adding new, it's adding what was there before. So I think we'll have many, many thoughtful conversations about that. Same day, attended my first historical commission meeting. They had a very packed agenda. I had to leave halfway through to another meeting, but they're a very, very intelligent, bright group of people that are very vested in the history of Reading, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm getting a tour of the archives later this week. Eastern Gateway, we had a quick catch-up meeting to see where we're at. The consultant was there. Staff has been working with CPDC and others on the zoning issues in that area, so we're kind of moving along on that. On the 18th, the Mass Housing Partnership held a training on managing housing programs. I attended that, and it was full of really great information. We did have somebody speak at one of our meetings from this group, and she was really informative and actually made us feel like we're really kind of going in the right direction. It's kind of been taking some time to get off the ground, but I feel like we're getting up and running. 518 Town Forest Committee, I wasn't able to attend because of the training session, but Jeff Lampson provided that there was a DCR State Forester. Chris Pryor attended the meeting, and he said he provided a lot of good information. The discussions on how to fund forest management plan, which we really need to look into in greater depth. And it's one of those situations where you can spend money to get more money. So it might be something to look into. Well, we will be looking into it. To unlock additional funding, they reviewed the Arbor Day event, which was a huge success. And their upcoming events is a June 18th Green Communities event. And you can always go to the town forest the second Tuesday of every month to pull some weed. Now I can't remember the name of the weed, but anyway, it's on the website.
Choose from.
I know, there's a lot. 18th Police and Fire Awards ceremony, which is one of my favorite things. Anytime there's a bagpiper, I'm there. It was really lovely to see all the families watching their fathers, mothers, sons, and daughters being recognized. It's a really lovely event. And thank you to all of them for their service. Recreation and Council on Aging had a joint meeting where they presented the new software by the Operations Working Group, and that went pretty well. The Finance Forum, as Karen talked about, And Sal and I have been doing VASC interviews for a couple days. Those are going very well. I love meeting all the people that are volunteering their time. And Memorial Day Parade. The rain held out during the actual parade. I started to speak and it started to pour, but people were gracious to still stay, including Chris, who was holding his bag over his head, trying not to get wet. Cemeteries are beautiful. Everybody did such a fabulous job. And I was walking my dogs at 6 a.m. and they're out there putting up the things. So those guys worked for a very long, full day. So we appreciate everybody that participated.
Chris?
Thanks, Melissa. I attended the Charlie Hardy naming of Turf 2. He was the longtime lacrosse coach over there that brought lacrosse to Reading. I didn't know that my neighbors were all involved in that too. So Pat Iapika, who worked with Jane on the health insurance stuff, De Benedettos, the Gallaghers, everybody over in my neck of the woods seemed to be involved in that back in the day, bring that. So it's good to see that Charlie Hardy got Turf 2 named after him after his long-term dedication to the town. I attended the police and badge pinning ceremony as well. It was good to see all the various new promotions and people that were getting awarded. I've said it many times that if you can get sick or anything happens to you, you want to, have it happen in Reading because, you're going to be in good hands here between the police and fire and EMS that are showing up. They do a pretty spectacular job, and just hearing the stories of, of the lives that they've changed by, saving various people. It's really inspiring. And then the finance committee meeting that we attended, just going over the override. So it was good to see, the discussion starting now. And I know Jane is working on a timetable for all the various other public input sessions and things that we can do just to, advertise it more that something like this is most likely coming on the November ballot. I also attended the Memorial Day event, and it's true, it started raining right when Karen started talking, so I'm sure that had nothing to do with it. But no, it was, to see everybody there that just stuck it out, and the scouts and the band, compared to prior years where it's 100 degrees and people are passing out. This time, it's all in the rain and all the kids are just standing there holding the flag and everything, just as if nothing's happened. So it's good to see, even with the weather like that, people still came out and supported our veterans. And then lastly, I attended the Burbank Ice Arena Authority meeting before the FinCom meeting. So that was last Wednesday or whatever. And they went over all the various budgeting things that has happened since their season technically ended with the North Shore Skating Club having their event there a couple weeks back. So Ed Peduto went over all the various, how the attendance was, what they're projecting for the future years with ICE, and it's this long rigmarole of how the various sports teams, who plays who, and, whether or not you get home ice, and now they're going to a different playoff schedule, and it just, a lot of the stuff went over my head. But the big takeaway from that was just seeing that, Ed was working right up until the meeting came upstairs, and, he was just actively involved and rifled off 100 things on a piece of paper in front of him. And it's, he does seem like he's very overworked there. So it'd be good to see if he can get some help in the future kind of thing, but I don't think he wants it. I think he enjoys what he does and he's good at that. So that meeting went quite well, and then I had to leave for the finance committee discussion before it was over. And I think that's it.
Do you have anything, Sal?
I have Vask, obviously, the
Yeah.
Karen stole my thunder there a little bit.
I kept it short.
Yeah, no, you did. Yeah. It was great. It's great to see all the people coming back. It was mostly incumbents, right? I think we only have one new applicant so far out of 2 meetings. Everybody's very enthusiastic about volunteering for all their different boards. And I went to the police and fire awards benefit too. It was great to see all the families up there, and just to reiterate what everybody said. We have a great community, great emergency services, and I'll have more next meeting. So.
I listened in on the Board of Health meeting from May 12th. They discussed their new regulations on feeding wildlife, agreed that they needed to have some clearer guidance and, some interdepartmental coordination when making guidelines like that. They will be revisiting that regulation with broader stakeholder participation. Also, they discussed protocol for future changes to bylaws and, communication with residents, other departments, stuff like that, public notices. I attended the police and fire ceremony for new hires, promotions, and awards, some state awards, and we also awarded 4 high school students. I believe it was 3 or 4 high school students with awards this year. On May 19th, RCTV had a board meeting that I attended. They have started discussions with the town on their Verizon renewal, and there is an ask for capital with Verizon, so hopefully we can get that to help them. PEG funds continue to go down. Their new executive director, Deirdre Morales, is phenomenal. I was very impressed by her at that meeting. I haven't met her in person yet, but I know she came to the select board meeting that I was on Zoom, but she seems like she is on her game. She's going to do good things over there. So I'm really looking forward to that. They're trying to figure out some ways to diversify their revenue stream and to increase that. They have a fundraiser set for June 22nd at Anthony's Coal Fire Pizza, which is an easy one. It's the last day of school, so go get some pizza, give some dollars back to RCTV. They are looking into offering some different community classes, and also are going to be doing coffee at the studio with their executive director in June. So that will be great. I don't have those exact days, so I've got those to make sure I mention those in my next liaison report. I attended the financial forum with everyone. Jane, remind me, did we have any community sessions scheduled for June?
We're looking at June 24th.
Okay,
Initially, we talked about June 25th.
Okay.
At the financial forum, and we think that Thursday is not going to get a lot of turnout, but Wednesday might have better
So June
turnout.
24th.
June 24th right now, and we'll publicize it once we're making sure that we don't have conflicts.
Got it. So it looks like we will have a community conversation in June.
That's right.
And we'll get that out to everyone.
And I think that's
you
what we
did
want to
mention that,
call
I'm
it, community conversation, but if the board has preferences about what you would like to see it called, or how we want to call attention to it, we're open to that. Shoot an email to Katie Gabriello.
Great.
While I'm out of the office, so.
Fantastic, thank you. I was actually unable to, I signed up for the MMA override, manage your budget without override conversation, and I was unable to make it, but they sent me all the slides.
Yes.
So if anyone wants them, I'm happy to share. I was unable to attend the Memorial Day celebration. I was away with my daughter, but I want to thank you all for being there, especially with the rain. I saw all the pictures. It did look like it cleared eventually, but that's it. That's all I got. And we are moving on to future agenda items. What does anyone have anything specific that they'd like to add? Maddie, do we have? Do we have what we have coming up already listed?
Sorry.
For
Future agenda
Oh,
items.
she's got it. Thank you.
Yep. Can you zoom in there, Maddie?
Oh,
God, yeah.
It's tricky when I can't read. There we go. I think that we're, for the 9th, we're gonna add, discuss and vote, or the continuation of the public hearing for 273 Salem Street for Dunkin' Donuts. Somewhere.
Can we do it before the water, since they've already been here once?
Yeah. Be fairly quick, so we could do that before water.
Like right after Juneteenth.
Yes, yep, I think that's fair. Right. Karen?
Yeah, so we have, well, I was wondering if we could get an update of our three building projects from the town manager.
Yes.
Okay, that would be great, thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
I'm including pickleball as a separate project, because that's how I
Yep,
voted.
no, happy to.
Thank you, like,
Yep.
I think that'll be good, not, well, because we're not all at the same meeting, so I'll have a broad understanding, and also for the residents watching at home, a reminder of when they're coming and where we are.
I'll put it as a separate agenda item under the town manager report, so it'll be on the agenda, so we can discuss it at length, yeah.
Awesome.
Can you add the High Street project too? I felt like there was going to be a schedule dispersed, and I walked down there and I don't know if anything's going on, and somebody mentioned to me that they thought that they were going to have a schedule of how things were going to happen, and they haven't gotten one.
Sure.
Thanks.
Happy to.
Business owner, thank you.
Just
We're
wanted
good
to.
for an update,
Yeah.
schedule update.
Sometime later this summer, this doesn't have to be an immediate, but can we talk about, I brought this up before, a select board naming policy and how we would like to do that?
Yes, that's on the list.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
For sure.
Okay,
Is it on a meeting?
I haven't seen it on there yet.
I have it on my list, I just can't figure out if we've actually plopped it into a
didn't see
meeting
it,
yet.
I didn't see it, but I was going to mention that as
It
well.
needs to be, yeah, in this, earlier in the summer.
Naming policy
August.
for naming the select board room, the South
Naming the
Vermont
new
Select Board room.
Recal. There could be
Yeah.
components of that, there's pickleball, there's, yeah. We can get in on the fun too.
Yep, we have staff working on it.
We'll definitely.
We
get it
never
on for
named the
summer.
park, the new expanded park up at the water tank. I mean,
Oh, yeah, yeah, underneath that,
we
yep.
could name that something, that'd be fun. I would love the select board to discuss, moving the liaison reports back to near the town manager report. Yeah, because the purpose of a liaison, we all spend a lot of time doing this, a lot of unpaid hours as volunteers doing this, and it's about breaking down silo communication, improving communication, and improving knowledge among all of us, and knowing what is happening in the different committees. And so I really feel, as for many years, it was next to the, earlier in the agenda and next to the town manager report. I still think it belongs there. I don't think it's an afterthought. I'm spending 4 or 5 hours a week doing my job. I'm not an afterthought. I don't know if anybody else feels like that, but.
There was a reason we moved it, but I'm blanking on.
I think part of the reason was to make sure that we get to staff-related agenda items earlier on, or public-related agenda items earlier on. So that was part of the reason why I think it was moved initially. But it's the board's decision.
Well, we just need shorter meetings overall, right?
Queen, yes.
Yep.
I mean, the consent agenda will help, and so maybe we can do it meeting by meeting, like if there's no town staff at the, do you know what I mean? Like maybe tweak it a little bit. Can we do that?
Whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I'm good with that. If we don't have a lot of people
Right, if there's
presenting
no
to us.
staff
Yep.
presenting to us, then maybe we can sneak it in that way.
Or, I mean, again, I think, like, we could also say, if the meeting's heavy, we move the town manager report down to the liaison report, and we take other staff and all of that, and we move it around that way.
That's fine too. I have no issue with that. For the town manager report later.
Just to be
We
here
can, maybe
anyway.
we can play with it a little bit then,
Yeah.
depending on the agenda topics. Yeah, okay. Chris?
Thanks, Melissa. So Karen brought up the naming committee scenario, and then also what dovetails to that is the fencing bylaw scenario that we brought up last year about advertising on fences.
Oh, yeah.
So
Sponsorships, right?
sponsorships, yes.
Yeah, great, let's do that.
It's the same, it's
And you
Jim
have
Sullivan
to-
working on both of them.
But also the schools control their own, so some quasi-joint thing there as well. Yeah,
It's complicated.
yes, it is.
We'll get into
We
it.
will uncomplicate
We
it,
can-
hopefully.
I like that.
Okay, I like that. All right.
The water restricting that I brought up already before about the Ipswich River thing, is that on there? What is that weird one that's on the June 9th? It said like water well.
That's it. Those
That's
are-
what it is?
Well, actually, no, that is during our conversation with, was that executive session?
In well fields
Wait.
maintenance, what is
Yes.
that?
We talked about
that done
getting
in
an update about what our wells cost us for
that's
maintenance
what I
and what
mean.
that cost is, so that's what
Yeah,
that
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, all right. So
Yep.
I thought that meant well fields because it's capital, that it's some dude or something like that that's coming
Oh,
in
yeah, no.
for some maintenance
No,
stuff.
it's just
So
to
it's
get
a
an update on what
proper-
we're paying
Okay.
for those wells to be
It's
maintained.
kind of connected to what you're talking
Kind of,
Yeah.
sort of.
about. Yeah.
Yes, minus the shell. All right, so I got that. The trash and recycling thing is getting done, what, July 1st or something? That's swapped over, and I know you're doing Tuesday trashies or whatever you're doing, the
Tuesday, trash talk.
Tuesday trash talk.
That's right.
I think that the board just has to have maybe its own separate agenda item, because maybe more exposure, I guess, because people still have no idea that the trash thing is going automated.
No, and actually, I'm glad you brought it up because Chris Cole earlier asked to be on an agenda to explain it, so we can get him in June.
Great.
Would be great. He's
Yep.
prepared to
Okay.
talk it through. Yep.
And then
Probably the 23rd.
And then lastly is the brunch scenario that we have to vote on for the alcohol.
We received the process today from Ivrea, so we'll be prepared for that for the 9th or the 23rd, whatever you want to do.
Oh, then what about the other thing that a town meeting voted on last fall that we were waiting for to be approved? The voting mechanisms, we haven't done that yet.
I don't know what you're
Remind
talking
me.
about.
wait.
No, so the
Simple
charter,
majority versus,
Oh, those
Oh,
changes to the charter, you mean?
yeah,
that
did we
need
get
to-
those back from the state? We were waiting for the state on those.
we're still waiting for the state to approve the charter, so that's, should be done soon.
Okay. Anything else? All right, let's go to minutes. Maddie, did anyone send any changes over? I did not have any
I
changes.
didn't receive any changes from anyone.
Did everyone have a chance to review them? Okay, let's do a combined motion then, if we can.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes of May 2nd, 2026 and May 12th, 2026 as presented.
Seconded by Sal. All those in favor? 5-0. And do we have another motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all those in favor?